Babes. OMG. Jump scare. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you, Milena, for the gifted subs, and thank you, Violet, for the tier 1 sub. Puss privilege restored. True, and Mayocidal love. Danke Shane. Let's focus on news since the UK news is grim. Listen, if there are suggestions, I'm open to it. I do have various stuff planned, like... Oh, chat's not loading. Oh, there it is. Okay, there we go. Oh my god, so many people. Hello. Yes. Milena, there's Dorian. Hello, Mama. Hello, Silent. Finally watching a live. Nice. Welcome, Underfire. Any of you in the YouTube chat who are interested in being part of the regular chat here, this is not Twitch. This is my website. Come over here to luxander.net/live and hang out in the chat. Get the custom emojis. Also the direct support through the website where YouTube doesn't take 40% of your donation. If you ever wonder why I don't have channel memberships, that's why. For a long time I didn't even have super chats. Yeah, what's up, Kitty Tick? Got the teats yeeted yesterday. Oh my goodness, Dorian, congratulations. I'm sure that you're very tired. So I hope that you're healing well, I hope that you're sleeping well, and that you have a good care team. Sent you one of the pics, me and my partner that just visited. Ooh. Yes. We support cute trans girl couples. I love your hats. Natalka, welcome to the website. Hello. I have come to join the yelling. Ah! We're not yelling about anything in particular. So here's the deal, everybody, okay? I really overdid my back this weekend. Right? I have a history with a lower back problem, right? My doctor prescribed me some muscle relaxers, so I'm a little bit sleepy. just a little tired. So, yeah, oh man, I can't even tell you how chill I am. I'm so chill. It's about 3 hours after I take the muscle relaxer that I'm like, I'm gonna go take a nap. Except I don't like naps, so I didn't take a nap. I did go lie down for a bit about an hour ago, just to kind of recuperate some of my energy. The very definition of vibing. Yeah, on a scale of 1 to chill, how chill? Ice cold. No, I'm not that chill. I wish I was that chill. Gosh darn it, I left my water bottle in the other room. I'll grab it in a second. I refilled it. I refilled my water, and then I had to go pee because of the sound of the water, and then I came back to here, and I skipped the kitchen. Alchemy says I just got a grant to pay for changing my name. High five! That's awesome. I'm sorry that it's expensive and that you needed a grant, but hey, that's awesome. No worries, Milena. Always lovely to have lurkers. Oh, and yeah, also because muscle relaxers are a central nervous system drug, I decided not to take my Ritalin, so... What's up, Ruan? Such a chill vibes today. Yep, and then my hair is a little bit crazy because I took a shower, but I didn't do most of my after shower routine, so the waves are like trying to wave, but they're also being pretty unruly. So we're just gonna do our best today. We're probably gonna like vibe for a while. I do need to get at least a couple segments recorded today, so any news suggestions? I have a couple of ideas of stuff that I'd like to talk about, but as far as specifics go, I haven't hammered those down. Ah! Yes, Eric, welcome in. Alchemy says, our House of Representatives decided to have meetings on anti-LGBT bills despite multiple tornado and storm watches. They have priorities, okay? They feel relatively safe in the State House. They probably have like a concrete bunker underground, you know? They were just trying to make sure that no people from the public could show up. Amazing. Transphobes are going crazy over something called the Cass Review. Yeah, that's some review of the Tavistock, right? It has something to do with them saying that, oh, we're the Mike Johnson state. Oh, you're in Louisiana? Oh, that's a bummer. I will say Mike Johnson ran in the district that he ran in Louisiana because he would be running unopposed, I'm pretty sure. So if there's any Democrats who live in um, Louisiana, you know, or even if you have any like less crazy Republicans who would want to run, that would be great. Ooh, forgetting that you have $10 on your Starbucks app is fucking great. If you just need a little snack, a little taste. Okay, this is off center again. It always gets off center. Always gotta fix it. Gonna have to fix it for the rest of my life. Webcams. Anyway, so the goal today on the stream goal is it's $100 as usual. That's pretty much what it always is. If I got to the stream goal every stream, I would be making $200 a week. But I'll show you the secret shirt that I have on and see what it looks like when I flex in it. Lavender lemonade sounds really good. Oh, goodness. My eyebrow piercings closed up because I had them out for 48 hours for top surgery. Damn. Like, having no tits is, of course, worth it. You could have gotten a plastic retainer one. But eyebrow piercings, they tend to heal up or reject pretty easily anyway. Lavender lemonade is delicious. We have shout outs in the chat for lavender lemonade. I'm personally partial to a strawberry lemonade. I like when you get them at Sonic and they have real strawberry at the bottom. That's yummy stuff. Really good. Not a huge Sonic fan. Their food is pretty fucking mid, TBH. But their drinks and their ice creams are pretty good. Just when there's other fast food options, it's like, why would I eat Sonic though? So, oh, you were approved for the grant. Okay, cool. It's the only place you can get an official Sonic chili dog. I know. Lavender was associated with effeminacy in ancient Greece. It was also called something crazy, like it was called like nard or something like that. I can't remember what the exact word was, but it was not known as lavender for a very long time. It is a super weird niche. Yeah, they have to be better at drinks and shakes than actual food. I love the oh my god, what are they called? They're filled with cheese, the cheddar bites. Those are really good, but they weren't available at the Sonics that I usually go to for a really long time. I don't know why. Those are yummy, but pretty much everything else there is super duper mid. Outing myself as a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog. Rolling around at the speed of sound. Listen, I basically just like got to see a lot of that game played. Sonic Adventure Battle 2. Big ADHD problem. Watching a stream, saying I'm gonna leave, and then not leaving for another 2 hours. It's like there's a cartoon or a comic at something that I saw at some point where it's like the person is like they're typing and then they stand up and start walking away, but their hands are still like typing. That's how I feel. I'm like, I can't get away. The dopamine, so difficult to get a hold of. Let me get a general idea of what some stuff that we can talk about today. The cast review includes highlights such as, oh yeah, I saw, recommending that under 25s be steered away from HRT, like potentially not covering any transition care for anyone under the age of 25 on the NHS. They also recognize that there are approximately 50 studies supporting HRT and blockers, but they're rejecting to listen to all of them because they weren't, quote, high quality. Both main parties are endorsing it and agreeing to follow it. Genuinely horrific and big news. Yeah, so I think I would like to cover that. I don't, um, there's not like a cohesive write-up that I've seen that I could source from. Is the, hold on, let me just see. Cast review from the BBC. Will I be able to just read the review myself? Only accept necessary cookies. Okay. So is this the whole thing? Why is this website so weird? Final report. Yes, let me read the report. Yeah, no, yeah, and we'll talk about it when we get to the, if we cover it in a segment. High quality means constructed double-blind placebo studies, which are impossible with HRT, because either puberty blockers or hormone replacement therapy, either way, you pretty much immediately know that the medicine is in your body and it's doing something. Or at least within the time frame of a study, you would definitely know. So there's no way to do a double-blind placebo study to see like, oh, is this only making you feel better because it's a placebo? Like after 6 weeks, and that's like that's a pretty short term of time for a study like that, you would know pretty quickly. Wouldn't that prove it works? I mean, so the kind of studies that we have done are like seeing how many people stay on the treatment for an extended period of time, you know? Um, or like how do people respond to the treatment? Does it reduce their chances of suicidality and all that kind of stuff? So those kind of studies have been done, but they're considered low quality in terms of like in all of science and all of medicine, it's like considered the gold standard if you can do a double blind study with a placebo, meaning that you have two groups and you give them either real medicine or fake medicine, and you tell them both that it's the real medicine, basically, or that they don't know whether it's the real medicine or not. And so you're trying to see, okay, like for ibuprofen, for example, if someone takes like a placebo, it's not going to actually help their pain. But sometimes just taking a pain pill can have a placebo effect where you feel less pain because pain is like a thing in your mind. So that's like the gold standard for studies, you know? But it doesn't, you can't do a double blind study for trans care. Like you just physically can't. But I would like to talk about that more in depth when we circle back around to like actually doing the segment. I do think that that's really important for us to look over. And I'm kind of scrolling over the CAS report stuff now. I really do wish that there was like a highlights reel. Have I retweeted something about this that might serve as a highlights reel? Because the whole report is going to be quite long. Okay. Nope, that's not it. That's a different thing. Okay, let's try. It's funny how a lack of studies to them isn't a sign we need more funding, but that we should have all funding taken away and not studied at all. I think in the UK, they are doing a thing where they're like, I'm pretty sure that they're doing a study thing on puberty blockers. So if you're a teenager in the UK who is having a hard time getting healthcare, like if you can't afford private healthcare through Gender GP or what have you, you might be able to join this like study group. But again, like who the hell knows? And it's not fair that like only this small group of people that get access to this particular study. It's like, yeah, like, oh, only if you conduct the research is it okay? We already have puberty blocker studies on cis kids. It's not a question that they work. I mean, no, I mean, it's not a question of their efficacy. That's not that's not what's at question on this. It, like, when it comes to trans kids, they don't really care that much whether it, like, works. It does work to, I mean, their entire argument is predicated on the idea that puberty blockers do what they say they're going to do, which is block puberty. But they, like, they don't want people to get to have that unless a medical doctor diagnoses precocious puberty, basically. I don't know if this report was peer-reviewed. I don't think it was. Eli Ehrlich. Oh my goodness. I am so glad. There are so many people talking about this. I would really like to just find some good highlights rather than, like, having to read through the entire report, but... This report is low quality. Fucking true. Oh, Time Marina points out also that they act like there are no control groups, despite there being the control group of all trans people who can't get access. Or the question of whether it's even ethical to deny people life-saving treatment just because you want a control group. Yes, that is part of the question there, is like whether that is ethical or not. Oh my god, I didn't want to get into talking about the news so early, but it's like I've already said a lot about it. And I want to save it for the video part. I gotta get my water, okay? So I'm gonna get my water. You hit the like button and maybe get yourself a water or a snack. I'm only gonna be gone for like 10 seconds. Hold on. I'm just gonna run to the kitchen real fast. I'm not gonna really run because my back hurts too bad, but I'm running 2 minutes behind, but I think TERFs should participate in a... Listen, shush, come on. Okay. I told you I wasn't going to be gone for long. I may or may not be really mad about the Alberta Sask story. Yeah, I have that open. Alberta... Something. So Alberta, Canada, seeking an intervenor status in Saskatchewan court case over controversial pronoun policy. Is this the original Jordan Peterson? Like, is this the original policy that Jordan Peterson got all mad about? Water is so good for you, Gorge. Oh, gosh. The bigger context of the story is what makes it pure evil. Like in the context of it being the thing, like, I guess, yeah, you'll tell me. What do you mean by bigger context? They want the right to waive federal law. Fun. Oh, so this is something about children. Notifying parents and requiring their consent before a child's name or pronouns can be changed in schools, and before classroom discussions about gender identity and other sensitive subjects occur. Ugh, gross. Yeah, it's a thick-ass water bottle. It's 64-ounce water bottle. Technically speaking, I should drink like 2 of those per day. Sometimes I do drink 2 of those per day. Nope. Yes. Nope. Burp. Amazing. Cool. Having the ability to waive federal law, including the Human Rights Charter. I could fit a whole lot of Monster in one of those. Monster Energy are 16 ounces. So, I mean, yeah, you could fit like 4 of them in there, right? You could mix and match the flavors of Monster. You could put 4 different Monsters in a 64-ounce container. You know, it's really sad that I know off the top of my head how many ounces are in a lot of different cans and bottles because I worked at a gas station for 5 years. 5 or 6 years. So, yeah. Ooh. Lore. The more you know. Let's get some more likes up in here. Can we get to 50 real quick? Anyhoozle. So usually during the first part of the stream, we chill, we hang out, we share what has been going on with us over the past couple of days. So it's Wednesday, my dudes. How has your week been? I have not accomplished nearly as much as I would normally like to accomplish in a week because I am just in a lot of pain. Do not drink 4 energy drinks. Yeah, I think even across the whole span of a day, you shouldn't drink 4 16-ounce energy drinks. That seems like a lot. Although I'm sure that there are trans girlies out there who've surpassed that. It is a trans girl drink. The monsters. Been on tea for almost 4 months and got good blood test results this week. High five, light woof. That is good shit. I only drink 1 a day. Use it to swallow my girl breakfast. Girl breakfast. High five. Oh gosh. Yeah, so I've been just kind of consumed by that one problem this week. Although I talked to my therapist and I am hoping to try to incorporate more positivity in my life. It's really difficult. It's not like there's a ton of overt negativity in my life, but there's also not a lot of ton of like overt positivity, or that like I am not like appropriately absorbing the positivity in my life. Do you ever have that where you're like things are not necessarily going badly, but like it's hard to absorb the good things? So, yeah, therapy is good for you. Helps you figure out your stuff even when you're not actually talking to the therapist. Sometimes you have little revelations. I've COVID for the first time and now everything tastes disgusting. I'm very sorry. I hope that you get better soon. Do you have access to Paxlovid? Like, do you have a doctor who will prescribe you Paxlovid? Jonathan, thank you for the super chat. It's going to take a second to come up on the screen because it's just kind of slow on the YouTube side of things. But thank you so much for your donation. I will add that to the stream donation goal. Usually I flex when we hit that $100 goal, so give me money if you want to. It's tax season, baby. Hey, Kaylin, welcome into the chat.
Yeah.
I've certainly drank more than 2 some days. Gotta see them guns, true. Hiding. If you drink 4 monsters in a day, you grow stripy socks on your legs and have to shave them every day to keep them off. True. I still have to work with my mom on my taxes. Ooh, yeah. I don't know how it works in Canada, but in America, they're due next week, so I'm almost done, though. The same good stuff over and over can seem like it has no effect. Sure. I don't think that's in particular what my problem is. I feel like stuff is usually not good, and then now that it is slightly gooder, I'm like just not absorbing it correctly. Pretty sure the Canadian government decided to stop subsidizing Paxlovid, so probably won't get it TBH. I'm sorry to hear that. If you can get a hold of any hold on. Streptococcus salivarius K12 probiotic. It is a positive bacteria that will basically help fight off any respiratory illnesses, and also apparently it improves your teeth health. So, yeah, just as a like over-the-counter recommendation for reducing your overall viral load so that you get better sooner and have less chance of like a long-term complication. Not being able to recognize or take in the good things sounds like a universal part of the human experience, Lamau. But yes, I'm like, so I was talking to my therapist again, and my therapist doesn't do DBT, but she knows that I did DBT, so she like she can refer to that background and stuff. Um, and I was like, I'm autistic, and I am so well suited to DBT because it's like, here's a lot of stuff that you can do, and this is connected to this, and you do these steps in this order. And it's great, and it gives you a lot of emotion regulation skills. But the problem is that I use those skills and very well and very often, so I do not appropriately connect with my emotions anymore. Like I overcorrected a little bit in trying to control, you know, to not feel like, oh, I'm gonna cry really easily, or to not feel like I'm getting really easily overwhelmed by a lot of situations. I use my skills and they're very effective. And yeah, I'm just not emotionally available to anyone, including myself. That's what we're working on right now. Dialectical, bialectical, dialectical. True. That is what it stands for. Dialectical. Back to enjoying streams in the plasma center. I really did Google recently, like, the plasma donation thing, and then I was like, I don't think the amount of money that they would give me is at all worth how bad I would feel, and the fact that I would, like, part of the POTS problem that I'm already diagnosed with is low blood volume, so maybe don't steal my plasma. I need it. I need that. Bilateral stimulation with my therapist. Is that an EMDR thing? I thought you said diabetical. Oh no, not diabetical. Dialectics. Like two opposing viewpoints. Worst I get is a little winded the evening after. Yeah. I haven't done it in like a decade. I haven't donated plasma in like a decade, so I don't know how it would affect me now, but I am not excited to find out. Not planning to. Every time I hear plasma, I think of green glowing goo. It is dialectical behavioral therapy. I was just going along with Mama Mephistopheles' very silly joke. Dialectical, bialectical, dialectical. Dialectical behavioral therapy. It's the treatment for borderline personality disorder. IFS? I've not heard of IFS. It's a type of therapy. I've not heard of it before. Anyhoozle. Internal family systems. Okay. Dialectical materialism. Oh, plasma donation is like a quarter of my income at the present. Yikes. I mean, I'm glad that you have that, like, as an option, I guess, if you're really that, like, desperate for money. But, yeah, it sucks that we have to sell our fluids in order to make ends meet. That's crazy, isn't it? BMS is used for eye movement desensitization therapy, EMDR. Yeah, like one of my therapists taught me to do some very basic EMDR stuff, and a lot of it was like symmetrical sensations, and then like the brain stuff where you're imagining certain things. We didn't quite get into the like move your eyes around stuff, but my therapist was not a specialist in EMDR. She was a specialist in DBT. When it's ramped up, I can pull in $560 a month from plasma. I get $100 a week. What? That's crazy. Internal family systems is an approach to psychotherapy that identifies and addresses multiple subpersonalities or families within each person's mental system. These subpersonalities consist of wounded parts and painful emotions such as anger and shame, and parts that try to control and protect the person from the pain of the wounded parts. the subpersonalities are often in conflict with each other and with one's own core self, a concept that describes the confident, compassionate whole person that is at the core of every individual. IFS focuses on healing the wounded parts and restoring mental balance and harmony by changing the dynamics that create discord among the subpersonalities and the self. That's really interesting. I personally would be a little bit worried about it as someone who has dissociative symptoms, that might make the dissociative symptoms worse. But I don't know anything about this therapy. Like I said, like, I'm not going to try to pass judgment on it. I'm just like, I would need to research it a lot before I would feel comfortable like endorsing it to a community of people that often have dissociative disorders. I struggle to interpret my emotions anywhere between extremes, so I really get it. And then I think that like autistic overwhelm is its own separate emotional state. Like, it's not exactly being uncomfortable, and it's not exactly being angry, and it's not exactly anything, but it's like I just feel really bad, like nebulously, and I'm tired and like kind of depressed. And then you tap into it and you learn a little bit more, and it's like I actually just think that I am overwhelmed, like autism wise. It's like, okay, no wonder I've had such a hard time identifying my feelings before. IFS did help me as a system. Okay, cool. Okay, that's good to know. The physical trauma aspects of CPTSD are covered in a book called The Body Keeps Score. I have heard about that one. I have not personally read it, but I've heard good things. Okay. Let me see. The CAS report. CAS review. It's just going to be so long. The full report is going to be so long. Nuvenal says, IFS makes no sense to me as a system because it's like, oh, your internal child is doing this and this. Like, no, bitch, she's more mature than I am. Well, I mean, maybe literally your inner child is not representative of what the concept they mean by your inner child. Seems like I walked in while we're all being sad. We're not being sad. We're having a totally normal conversation about therapy. I'm just on muscle relaxers for a prescription back problem and very tired as a result, consequently. So it's just a low energy stream. Yeah, Mama, I think you mentioned that last time, having the adrenaline response from a garage door opening. Bada bing, bada boom. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry if I seem like sad. I'm just, yeah, literally, I have taken prescription drugs that happen to bring the energy down a little bit. Yeah, there is evidence that EMDR can be somewhat negative for people with dissociative disorders. So if you choose that option, be careful with it. IFS is structured for me less like a literal family and more like the facets of me are metaphorical representations of the feelings and trauma. That's cool. I'm really glad it's been helpful for you. There's a lot of neat, like, therapeutic approaches out there, and I can appreciate that different ones do different things. My therapist suggested to me, well, she said that there is another type of DBT called DBT radical openness, and she was like basically suggesting that that might be something I could look into since it's kind of to help people who overcorrect and go into emotional repression after DBT. Noah, thank you for the tier 1 sub. I hope you enjoy your dicks. Thank you very much. What's up, Leftist Owl? Ember, welcome to the cool chat. You've made it. We're the cool kids club. Hell yes. Nope, come back, chat. Come back to me. I have gained a lot of compassion and love for myself doing IFS. Hell yeah, dude. I got back from Ohio for the eclipse. Oh, nice. We decided not to travel for it this time. There were way too many people, and I was not interested in driving for 12 hours in one day or, like, staying at a hotel somewhere. None of that sounded good to me. That's what was recommended to us as phase 2. Radical openness therapy? Yeah. I slept through the eclipse. We did go see it, but it was, you know, in Kansas City, it was at like 90%. So it was just about as dark here as it is on Mars during the day. Yeah, a field guide to Earthlings. I do have that on one of my wish lists right now. It is a book about autism. 99% versus 100% is a lot for a solar eclipse. Yeah, I mean, like the 10% is a... But like, to have 90% of the sun covered up, it is a little eerie, that on its own. If anybody was in the range of like a partial eclipse last week, earlier this week, whatever the hell day it was, yeah, it's like, oh, it's as quiet as it is, or like as dim as it is on Mars. In Columbus, Ohio, saw 99%. You would not have even had to travel very far to see totality. Had a great view from my deck. Did not need to travel. All the night lights came on and the birds went crazy. I've seen totality before. In 2017, we drove to somewhere in like Nebraska, I think, to see totality. So I've seen it before. But we were kind of jokingly like, oh, well, you know, whatever. We'll just go to Spain in a couple years. Everyone here cheered for the sun going out as if it was a score at the big game. You're not super late, Winter's Night. We've only been going for like 45 minutes. I heard the eclipse is just the cover for doing maintenance on the sun. I heard that it was the cover so that we wouldn't freak out on our way to the vet. People set off fireworks after totality here. God, that would be annoying. I'm kind of glad that I wasn't somewhere where there was totality because that's so fucking irritating. What is wrong with Americans? Like, why do we have to set off fireworks all the fucking time? Like, oh, your sports team won? Now I have to fucking listen to explosions for an hour. God. So yeah, anybody want to go to Spain in 2026? Otherwise, it's not going to be until like 2044 that there's another totality in the US, I think. It's just going to be a long time. It's going to be a long, long time. Did I add this already? I don't think I did. The most recent donation? I'm going to add it anyway. Now we're at the halfway mark. Look at that. Excuse me. Yeah, any emotion, we blow something up. Men will literally set off explosives rather than learn emotional processing. Just glad they weren't shooting guns into the air like usual. Okay, yeah, I mean, fair enough. That's dumb. My partner's daughter is a huge space nerd. He made him stay up until... she made him stay up until 3 a.m. to watch the live streams. Yeah, I mean, I looked at the sky a little bit, and I experienced it. I stood outside for like 10 minutes, but, you know, it was not something that I was going to spend all day on. I've had bullets hit the house from that before. Yeah, there's a reason why it's illegal to shoot your gun in the air. Because the bullets can, like, fall and hurt someone. Oh my god. It's hard enough on a regular day to put up with the stupid nonsense that we have to deal with all the time, you know? It's a totally different thing on a day where I'm already, like, tired and in pain. Nephew put eclipse glasses over his camera phone and it worked. It does work. I saw so many people taking pictures or posting pictures of them having just pointed their phone camera at the sun. Like, good job. You're gonna destroy your fucking phone camera. Congratulations. In my state, we can never tell what's a firework and what is a gunshot. I feel like I can tell the difference well enough because a gunshot, like, has a sharper, more like a clapping sound. Like a, more of a, like, kind of sound. As opposed to the, like, kind of sound that you get from fireworks. I don't know if that translated at all, but you know what I mean. I did see the memes about Google's trending searches for, like, my eyes hurt and why do my eyes hurt. Dumbasses. I pointed my camera at the sun in full totality. Babe, you're not supposed to look at the sun in full totality with your eyeballs. You're not supposed to. Even during full totality. Like, that's... You're not supposed to do that. NASA said it's okay once it's totality. I'm now a full-blown conspiracy theorist. I'm like, I don't fucking believe you. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I guess maybe, yeah, like, I don't, there, it's, like, is the moon, like, okay, so you know the moon and the sun are, like, close to the same size, which is how it's even possible for us to have eclipses. Like, Winter's Night says there is a brief moment during the totality where it is less damaging to look at, but I didn't say safe. Yeah, because it's like, there has to be something around the edges, right? I want us to go to space and find a planet that has a 24/7 eclipse. That would be fun. Yeah. Mathematically, that would be insane. Doodlebean, my love, I hope that you're not seriously correcting me like you thought I was that incorrect. My friend thought it was safe, but now his eyes hurt, so yeah. Like, I guess it's hypothetically, like, if it's totally at that perfect totality moment. But, like, I don't think that you know that on the ground, and so you could be looking at it slightly before or slightly after. Yeah, people look too long, and as the sun comes back around, they're still staring. I could see that being part of the problem. The glasses that I got say... They say that they meet the transmission requirements for eye protectors, you know, filters for direct observation of the sun. Okay, cool. Then they also say they say limited to 3 minutes continuous use intermittently for several hours. So I don't know if that means, like, this can only hold up to, like, a few minutes of looking directly at the sun before they're, like, not usable anymore. So I tried to be pretty conservative with how much I was looking at the sun. Like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna enjoy just being out in the weird half light for a minute. And then, you know, I would do this and like look at the sun really briefly, like maybe 10 or 20 seconds, and then I would put them back down because I'm not trying to like look at them. It's not visible during totality with eclipse glasses. Okay. I've had to convince people the moon isn't hollow, so I got scared. Like, you'd be shocked how many people don't know the sun is large. You must be new here. Yeah. I think if you think that you're gonna see profound stupidity here, then you'll be sorely disappointed. I'm sure there are some people out there who, yes, the same angular size is what I meant. That, like, from our perspective, given their relative sizes and distances from us, they appear to be approximately the same size. I don't know what to do with the glasses now. I'm not saving them for 20 years to use again. Well, listen, I almost didn't get to view the eclipse properly because I could not find glasses anywhere. So maybe you do want to keep them. A little girl, when it went fully out, started to scream. She thought it was gone forever / stuck like that. When it came back, she was okay again. Did they not prep their child for what was going to be happening? Like, what? The plastic expires before 20 years. I would just order new ones closer to that decade. Fair enough. I hadn't really considered whether they would have degraded over time either. Like, is there an expiry? Is there, like, an expiration date? These were created in Ireland. Like, I love that. North American Eclipse goggles made in Ireland. But I mean, no, I mean, like, did they explain it to her before they arrived? Like, it's gonna get really dark during the day and then it's gonna get bright again. I'm not even saying they need to explain, like, oh, it was the moon and it went in front of the sun, but, like, before you go, being like, the reason that we're going is because we're gonna see this really cool thing where it's gonna get dark and then it's gonna get light again. It's not easy to predict where a child's mind will go. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, adults used to assume that the eclipse was something that would really signal, like, the end times. Like, an entire battle ended once because a solar eclipse happened. Never seen a kid go from hyped to that quickly. I stacked a couple welding shades. Oh gosh. Yeah, that little girl got the authentic primal experience. I'm sorry, Mama, for underestimating your capabilities. That was my bad. Okay, so during this eclipse, the moon happened to cover the entire sun as opposed to previous Ring of Fire instances. Okay, so yeah, that might have been the difference between that time and, like, 2017. Because I was pretty sure during 2017 that they were like, do not look at this without your glasses, point blank, period. Yes, if an eclipse happened while I was fighting a battle, I'd stop and tell the other guys to stop fighting too. But it ended, like, not just the battle, but I think, like, the entire conflict between the two groups. 2017, there was totality in some places. The eclipse in Oregon last fall never had totality. The moon was too small. Okay, right, because the moon is like varying distances away from the Earth, so it looks bigger and smaller, right? So there could be times when we have the eclipse, and it's like the moon is slightly further away. Because yeah, doesn't the moon have an elliptical orbit? Oh my god, I cannot talk. Yes, the moon does have an elliptical orbit. So it's closer to us sometimes than others. Also, the atmosphere itself is like a contact lens and distorts everything seen through it. It's really fun. People who have really pretty strong prescriptions for their eyes, and you put their glasses on, and everything is like way smaller. The moon is also slowly getting farther away. Millions of years from now, total solar eclipses will become impossible. Isn't it great to be alive today? Isn't it lovely? Slay! True. Okay, I am just gonna do a little bit of scrolling to see if it's even possible for me to look through, okay, key points and recommendations, like, of the cast review. Born too late to explore the seas, born too early to explore the stars, born at just the right time to know what gooning is. Gooning! Why is the internet so weird? Why do we as human beings continually come up with new, weird, abstract ways to refer to sexual things? Like, why are there a million different euphemistic terms for genitals? Why? Why, I ask you? Good God, there's so many fucking things in here. Can I even go over the cast report without there being, like, someone having gone over it? Because holy shit, there's so much in there. It's gonna require a thorough rebuttal, I'm sure. Euphemism, treadmill, gober. Yeah, because we aren't allowed to be comfortable with our bodies, like, what's the deal? Katie Montgomery's cartoons do the TLDR. Katie Montgomery, what is she up to? I love how she has trans-identified female in her bio. That's cute. That's funny. God, yeah, I don't know that I'm going to be able to even cover the cast report today. There's just way too much, and I haven't had time to go through it properly. Oh, there is a summary from the Torygraph? The Telegraph, I see. I also have an article open on the BBC website, but I was just like, I guess I'm hoping to see, like, some breakdowns where people highlight the parts that are problematic. Because I'm sure if, you know, this from the Telegraph and the BBC, they're going to report on the things that are like, oh, these make the most sense. Instead of being the ones that are like, oh no, that's bad. You know what I mean? Like, they'll just omit the ones that are like, oh, that's bad. Okay, I'm skimming a little bit. I'm skimming an article. Yeah, I think I'll wait until Sunday to cover this in depth, so we'll table that for now. Violet, what is this thing about Saskatchewan? Because you said that this article wasn't going to go into the depth that... Like, this article doesn't go into everything, right? I love being alive and literate. I love being able to read. Sometimes I want to go look directly at the sun and just kill my ability to read anymore. Okay, this just talks about what it's officially said. I don't think there are any mainstream UK publications treating it remotely critically. Yeah, so I'm hoping by the time we stream again on Sunday, I'll either have time to go through or I'll be able to collect enough examples on Twitter of excerpts where I can read what they actually said in the report, but without having to, like, take you through the entire report. What's up, Andes? Oh, you'd have to know the context with the carbon tax showdown to understand why. I see. There is a thing people do called sun gazing, where people just stare at the sun. I don't know how they aren't blind. What? Yeah, I hope Erin Reed does a good review of it. I need to give her a fat dono. I haven't donated to her in a while. But I appreciate all of the work that she does. Too many tabs. Yes, fat donut. Okay. So yeah, we do have something from Erin to cover today. Florida has a First Amendment problem. Judge rules that a trans teacher can be referred to as Ms. and with she, her pronouns. That's a trans woman. I've got a couple of other things on Twitter that we could talk about that I've retweeted. Me complaining about people not understanding the parasocial relationship. MAGA congresswoman pushes death penalty for sex abusers. I want to read that article. Excuse me. I'm learning how hosting a server to a website works. After a workday of hours, I have learned there's a reason people get paid to do this. Congrats, Lord Byron. Sun gazing is big in the raw carnivore scene. Very strange. Those are also the kind of people who are probably going to be, like, drinking raw eggs right now during a bird flu outbreak. So smart. OMG. Okay, I want to find this article. Okay. Oh, is this Tennessee? What is her name? So, Anna Paulina Luna. Is she from Tennessee? Where is she from? She's just a U.S. representative at the official level. Proudly serving Florida's 13th district. Okay, unsurprising. She serves in the United States House of Representatives. Okay, so she represents Florida in the House of Representatives. Nope, we're not doing cast report today. Totality, cast report. Another one about cast report. Okay, don't need any of that today. Good stuff. Congresswoman pushes death penalty for sex abusers. Do you have any news for me about this person? Okay. Oh my god, I hate the New York Times. 77 people and 69 likes. Nice. Who wants to ruin it? Who's ready to ruin that 69 likes by adding more? Do it. Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. Anti-vaxxers? Andy says, I did look at the sun briefly, but oh, how I regretty. It will regretty. Looking at the sun won't instantly blind you, just like having a gunshot go off next to you won't permanently deafen you, but you shouldn't shoot without ear protection anyway. It's about the accumulation of damage over time. That, like, there are some damages that don't heal or don't heal fully. So it's like, if you live long enough, you will go deaf. Like, your exposure to noise will at some point, like, you will wear out. Hey, now it's at 74. Hey, that's nice. This is one of those things that makes me kind of cringe when people say, oh, we really have to vote for Biden. That's going to make the big difference. Like, of course you should vote for Democrats in general, like for the harm reduction purposes. But when people are like, oh, we need to prevent Trump from getting into office because then they will push Project 25. But we're here during the Biden administration now. And one of the things that we get to deal with is people who work at the federal level of the House of Representatives introducing bills like this one that would enact the death penalty for people who assault children, people who do CSA. So, and like ostensibly, that's the thing that everybody should be able to get behind, right? It's framed as like, well, of course, you know, you can't. She's this lady who introduced the bill. She is from Florida. She represents Florida in the United States House of Representatives. She said, you cannot rehabilitate a child predator. It's a bill called No Repeat Child Sex Offenders Act. Apparently, it also works to tackle trafficking as a whole. I guess either death penalty or life in prison. You cannot cure predators. I don't need this. Like, ostensibly, of course, everybody is against harming children. Like, unless you're one of the, very few people who has the desire to do that, you know? But that's what makes that kind of rhetoric so dangerous, because it's so easy. Like, oh, you're supposed to get this automatic agreement. And if you don't get automatic agreement, then people are like, well, why do you support pedophilia? And it's like, no, that's not what I said. Just trying to make sure that we acknowledge that this is a very easy way to paint someone as inherently permanently harmful, you know? And it's really especially important that we be skeptical of these things in a political climate in which people are constantly calling trans people groomers and child molesters. Like, people are constantly accusing trans people of, wanting to sexualize children. So if you are doing both of these things at the same time, where on one hand, you're trying to expand the death penalty to include instances of child abuse like this. Like, to be clear, they're not introducing a federal bill that's going to make child abuse illegal. they're okay with parents assaulting their children, like like hitting them and like harming them in that way. What they aren't okay with is like particularly sexual abuse, or at least that's what they say. But again, the kind of people who rail on about how much they hate these groomers and these people who want to hurt children, they also tend to support like child marriage. You know, people getting married with parental consent at age like 14, you know, so they keep saying one thing and then doing another. This is a thing that you need to integrate deeply in your brain, is that people will say the opposite of what they're actually doing. And if you keep observing them and you keep going, well, they're not doing such and such. They said they wouldn't do such and such. And you're like ignoring the thing that they're actually doing. Like, how is that consistent? And also you're showing yourself to be pretty gullible if you are seeing someone say, oh, we are against harming children, but they make exceptions for intersex babies, or they make exceptions for child marriage if the parents consent, you know, it's just pretty abhorrent that they would lie like that. And you have to be smart enough to actually infer someone's intent by their actions, because a lot of the time you cannot take people at their word. Yeah, it's a chain with two links. The first chain is make it so that people who harm children are being killed or jailed forever. And then two, label all of the people that you hate as like people who harm children. Because listen, like trans people are not unique in this. Not only has this happened to gay people in the past, but also Democrats as a whole group. Like, I realize that I have never talked about this extensively on my channel because it's just a level of crazy that I don't really feel the need to delve into. But QAnon, at its core, I believe, having not researched it a ton, is at its core a conspiracy theory about a child sex trafficking ring being run by Democrats, ostensibly in the basement of like a pizzeria or something like that. Like, it's a dumb conspiracy, right? But this tactic of accusing groups you dislike of being like sexually harming children, it's just a really easy go-to way of making any average person, that's the goal is to invoke this like legal thing that I hated RGR introducing me to this term. Like, if any reasonable person, so it's literally argument ad populum. Like, so if any reasonable person would be opposed to harming children, oh, any reasonable person understands that letting kids play dress up if it happens to be drag is like sexually inappropriate. You know what I mean? So they just kind of keep putting this forward that, oh, these people are harming children. No, you can't trans the children. Then it's harder for us to put them in the mines. Yeah, and like, yeah, exactly. These are the same people who are trying to remove protections for underage workers. Like, they're trying to make child labor a thing again. People have been scapegoating their enemies as child predators for millennia. See the concept of Jewish blood libel. Yeah. Interesting that there's no law saying that governments are failing in their duty to feed homeless people, but there are laws against just going out and feeding the homeless yourselves. Yeah, unless it's through an approved 501c3. Like, I couldn't go out. I guess I could go buy lunch for an individual homeless person, but if I set up a table and I'm giving out food, even if it's food that I bought, I might not be able to, like, be allowed to do that depending on where I live. Yeah, like the social murder aspect of it, the fact that that's not seen as harmful or neglectful. Like, allowing a state apparatus to decide what is appropriate behavior for people is clearly not working. You know, like cannabis is still illegal on the federal level, despite the fact that Biden promised he would change it, and that, like, it's not even a law that needs to pass. It's just that what is it? Is it the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, like, or the DEA? It might be a DEA thing. I can't remember. Anyway, like, they just need to reclassify cannabis to not being a Schedule 1 thing, and that is not a legislative process. That's just an administrative process, and yet it hasn't been done, you know? Like, so many different things. Like, I could go on and on and on. Like, the people want access to abortion, but there is a potential for us to lose access to abortion even on the federal level. Arizona, I think, just made a really hardcore anti-abortion law, which might be being held in the courts already. Like, that's just a development that happened over the last couple of days. But yeah, like, it just seems to me like this apparatus that it's like, okay, so the government sets the definition for what counts as child abuse. And then there's a bunch of bureaucratic processes in the enforcement of that law. And so much of this is up to interpretation. And like, yeah, so you can just say, like, in Arkansas, they tried to pass a law that would put using the restroom at the same time that a child was in that restroom, if you're trans, like, they would make that equivalent in punishment to the kinds of crimes that involve, like, physically sexually harming a child. So you can set this definition, or like the censorship law that they're trying to pass here in Kansas, where I live right now, that in the definition of sexual content that they're trying to keep away from children, they're like, this includes acts of masturbation, homosexuality, sexual intercourse. So acts of homosexuality. What the hell does that mean? You know? They put it there with sex and masturbation, equivocating any homosexual activity to literal, like, sex in public, you know? Like, and it just seems like a bad system, you know? Yeah, the return of the anti-sodomy laws. We've talked about this recently on the channel, you know? Just because these laws aren't being enforced now doesn't change the fact that they're on the books, and that malicious actors will use these to restrict LGBTQ rights. Like that lady we talked about in Ohio. She was a trans woman who tried to run for a local office, and they ended up barring her from participation because they were selectively applying a law where you're required to publicly state your former name on your petition. There were 3 other transgender women, I think, trying to get positions in politics in Ohio at that time. None of those 3 women were disqualified the way that Vanessa was. So they just are going to selectively apply it. And there is it's an entire possibility that those other trans women could be removed from office later if there were some challenge based on that law. Yeah, peeing outside is treated like a sex crime. Like, pissing outside is a sex crime that will get you put on a sex offender list that will prevent you from, like, living too close to a school and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't have a solution to this problem. But I feel like it is worth, you know, talking about the fact that, like, what do you do in a system where things are gerrymandered all to hell, and that women like this get in power and they're like, oh, we're targeting trafficking. I have the firm belief, which I think many of my colleagues also hold, that you can't rehabilitate a predator. We have to increase the federal minimums. It increases the federal minimums to death penalty or life in prison. It's absurd that rapists can get off after a few years of good behavior after destroying lives. Like, again, on its face, I cannot disagree with that. like, I mean, I can say I don't think that they deserve the death penalty because I think that people can be falsely accused of all kinds of shit, especially in this day and age where you have like pretty advanced, photo editing capabilities and like it's pretty easy to forge evidence. And while there is like a targeted campaign, whether it's whether it's trans people or whether it's gay people or whether it's just Democrats in general, having this cultural moment where you're accusing people of being like child assaulters, um, you have to be especially cautious. Well, Milena, I don't think that she was just saying. She said, oh yeah, she did say she would also be vying to increase the federal minimum for rapists in general. So it's not just, or I guess this particular law only has to do with children, but she wants to also craft legislation just generally increasing minimums for people in general. And like, yeah, I agree with, Melena in the chat that a violent SA or like drugging someone is different from being like shitty about boundaries. So it's like, what are we calling rape? What's the definition of that? In a lot of current definitions, it's literally only a man penetrating a woman. That's the only thing that can be rape in some places. So you're like not going to catch all the people that you want to catch by this. And you are going to catch people who don't deserve to be caught up by it. Mm. I think Melina said she was working, so she's just like popping in as she's working. Oh, goodness. Like, listen, guys, I don't doubt that it will be worse if Trump gets into presidency. Like, all this stuff. But I just want to point out that we are not necessarily safe under Biden either. Because if you can get enough Democrats on side, if you can convince enough Democrats, oh, we're just trying to prevent harm to children, because of course, like when they pass this law, or if they pass this law, it's only a page and a half long. This lady who drafted it seems kind of proud of the fact that it's a super short law. So this law probably doesn't have anything to do with trans people directly. Okay? So this law that's just about increasing the penalties for child abusers in general, like child sex abusers specifically, there's a good chance this will pass. Okay? And then later, when they start prosecuting trans people for alleged crimes against children, you have this sort of permissive federal law that says, yeah, you can punish them as harshly as possible, essentially. And that could happen once Trump is in office later. Like, we're setting things up now that are going to come to ripe fruition in a couple of years. Yeah, I agree. With Biden, we will be slightly safer than under Trump. But yeah, safety is always contextual. Even if you live in a super liberal area, you can still get curb stomped by somebody who just happens to have a problem with you. I'm trying to think if I have anything else that I need to say about this one. I never catch the beginning of these. We start at 4 p.m. Central Time on Wednesdays, and we start at 12 p.m. Central Time on Sundays. drink yet more water. I have to drink a lot of water to help my muscles feel better. Because my back hurts. My back hurts. Do we have anything else we need to say about this one? I want to make sure we're thorough. Under Democrats, it's more like less unsafe than being strictly more safe. Agree. It's like vaping is less unhealthy for you than smoking cigarettes. But it's not healthier, just less unhealthy. I don't want to live on this planet anymore. What's up, Shakespeare? Okay. Yeah, the brief moment of totality is less unhealthy. So just to clarify, this is Representative Anna Paulina Luna. So if you live in Florida and it's possible for you to vote her out the next time she could be voted out, maybe do that. Choosing between the party of do nothing versus the party of make things worse. There's no improvement on the ballot. I hate it here. Yeah, remember when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was like, we're going to do a Green New Deal. We're going to put all these emissions restrictions on these corporations, and we're going to raise the minimum wage, and fucking absolutely none of that has happened. We genuinely do not have a party that is seeking to improve any of these situations. There are individual Democrats who are working to make things better. And of course, I would never discredit the hard work that they do. But the Democratic leadership in this country just do not care about, like, the fact that there are a bunch of natural disasters. Because guess what? The more natural disasters there are, the more the various companies that they contract with can, produce flood gear and sell it to people and jack up the prices on the property insurance, like your home insurance. She came up against serious opposition when she introduced the Green New Deal, but didn't it sort of pave the way for that general philosophy to make more leeway in the following years? Like, maybe in the popular mindset, but like the popular mindset had already been thinking like Medicaid or Medicare for all or Medicaid for all, whatever the fuck. Like, personally, when it comes to our national politics, I am seeing a pretty dramatic capitulation to Republican ideals, and very little I personally am not really seeing a lot of conversation or movement on these various things that we would associate with the Green New Deal. And there's just like not much you can do about it because these are the groups that are in power. They got in power, they're going to stay in power, and like we can't even discuss trying to change the governmental system in a short-term period of time, because when you start having discussions about radically changing the government functionality in a short period of time, that's a crime against the government. Like, the system has created a situation by which you can only work within the system, or you will get punished, like, for the highest form of crime that they have constructed. I think the capitulation is Biden pulling his unity BS and trying to pull more reluctant Republicans to vote for him. It's more Clinton shit. Yeah, that's the thing too. They're just kind of drifting toward the right. It's insane too that they're drifting toward the right to try to get more votes because they're trying to get votes out of Republicans, you know? But how many votes are they losing by refusing to capitulate to the left wing who like is a growing demographic, I believe. I haven't really looked into it specifically, but I would assume that the number of people who are dissatisfied with their wages and like who are dissatisfied with the increase in natural disasters, like people who are going to be increasingly upset about food shortages, you know, like there are going to be more and more and more people who see the system not working and who are going to stop voting for the Democrats. The more the Democrats support Israel, the more votes they lose. The more they ignore climate change, the more votes they lose. The more money they give to police departments, the more votes they lose. Like, I just don't see the Democratic Party really recovering from how majorly they fumbled this presidency. Completely honest. Worth pointing out that neolibs like Reagan and Clinton were able to dismantle the welfare system precisely because white people voted against their economic interests to spite black people. I mean, yeah, there's that too. There's that too. If it's any consolation, the Republican Party seems to be speedrunning how fast they can kill themselves politically. But the thing is that the Republican Party is capable of drumming up like a loyal base of fanatics who do not think rationally, you know? Um, and I think that the core group of Republicans who will vote red no matter what is probably bigger and more galvanized than any number of people in the Democratic Party who are like, I'm going to genuinely vote blue no matter who. And I'm going to make sure that other people do as well. Like, I honestly think Democrats just don't have the same sense of urgency because Democrats don't often use, like, the Democratic politicians don't necessarily use fear in the same way to engender loyalty. Don't we have the right to revolution against our government if we deem it becomes destructive toward its citizens? I thought that was in the Declaration of Independence. Or have I sorely misunderstood something? The Declaration of Independence is not a law. And it's also different for the American colonists to reject British law versus them, like, once they are in power, of course they don't want to be rebelled against. Like, you are charged with treason if you work against the interests of the US government. Or, like, you know, lots of governments have a concept of treason. Yeah, there are more Democrats, but Republicans have a very big enthusiasm advantage. Yeah, we're touching on this concept called the consent to be governed. And yes, today's treason can become tomorrow's regime. Like, if we were to try to radically change the government, so like we change it very thoroughly in a very short period of time, the system is going to resist that change and it will use violence in order to preserve itself. RFK Jr. is going to screw Biden out of votes. I honestly think, did you guys see that guy? I guess we're done with this particular segment. Did you see that guy who's changing his name to literally anybody else? He did it. He legally changed his name. His legal name is literally anybody else. and it's like he's launching basically a joke presidential run, which I think is very funny. I'm considering voting for him. I live in Kansas, so my vote for Biden doesn't matter at all. How do we avoid that while still getting the results we need in a timely manner? So here's my deal. Because our economy is focused entirely on constant growth, it will collapse. Like the fact that we are not going to dedicate huge amounts of resources to moving all of our cropland hundreds of miles further north, and like, it's just the government is going to collapse on its own at that point. Like, we just have to live for 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's already like it's in late stage capitalism. It's on the downhill already. So it's just about like, okay, get your local communities in order, support each other, get each other to safer states, concentrate power in places where hopefully you'll be able to produce food on account of the just climate change, food shortages and stuff. And yeah, it'll just do it on its own in a while. The end of the Republican Party is not the end of capitalism, but they're both going to be very violent and awful things to witness. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to be crazy. I'm not really a fan of the predictions made by, quote, late-stage capitalist models. IMO, it undersells how titanic and slow the shift from feudalism to capitalism were. So to be clear, I was just using the term late-stage capitalism as shorthand, because we've never seen this before. Like, we've never seen this exactly before. Vivi, I guess maybe you haven't been around, and I'm going to keep bringing this up for forever. There was a study out of MIT in 1972 where they created numerous economic models given certain variables. And in the economic model that they called their worst case scenario model, basically if policy kept going on supporting constant economic growth at the expense of other things, then the economy will stop growing around year 2040, and then the economy will collapse. And because of the fact that the pursuit of constant growth includes all this exploitation of the environment, then there are going to be like a large number of catastrophic events that result in a global population loss. Like, we're at almost 8 billion right now. If nothing changes, and if things don't really, really radically change for the better as far as our economic choices in the next 5 years, then we are on track for complete economic collapse that is going to reduce the global population from almost 8 billion back down to 2 billion. It's not gonna be a good time. So when I say, I kind of casually said late stage capitalism, I don't even know if they referred to it in those terms in 1972. Probably not. But it's just that constant pursuit of profit and economic growth over investment infrastructure. Yeah, those economists are the Cassandra prophets of our time. No one's gonna listen to them. Okay. I'm stuck in my hometown in Arkansas with no sense of community for LGBT plus in this area other than closeted married rednecks on Grindr, and I refuse to go back in the closet or try to pass as straight. Any advice for me in the short term? Work more hours and save more money and then move. Yeah. It's called Limits to Growth. That's the study out of MIT. Bellissimo. Okay. I need my notes. I need my stream notes so that I can remember what I talked about last time. I remember what I talked about last time. Today is what is today's date? That's a great question. 10. 4. Hold on. 4/10. That is the date. Okay. And so we did death penalty federal level. Okay, that's in my notes now. And now I can see everything again. Almost 420. Yes, happy early 420 to those who celebrate. No, there's no sound. I thought the sound was coming out of my headphones. If you have student loans, then the more hours you work, the more money they take. That's why people hide money and work under the table with tips and such. Completely understand. Oh no. I've changed my seat. No. Come back. Weed Day is on Hitler's birthday every year. Yeah, it is. April 20. Yeah, shout out to everybody who lives in places where it's legal. I still live in Kansas. Okay, we did at least one actually important story today. Look at us. We did something. We succeeded in doing something. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum. It's also my ex's cat's birthday. Oddly specific. Ohio made it legal last year, but you can't buy it anywhere yet. Yeah, I know. There are some places where they've, like, opened stores where they plan on being like, oh, we're definitely going to start carrying weed products when they legalize it. Like, I think that they were doing that in Missouri before they made it legal. I don't know much about it. I have not Googled this in particular. Good lord. It's so hard to keep your body upright. You know what I mean? How old? Why am I so old? Alright, we finished one story. Let's see if we've got any more stories tonight. Vegas has got marijuana lounges that you could smoke inside of now. Interesting. Because I know that some places, even though they legalize it, there are still, like, you can't smoke it in public because that's considered, like, public intoxication or something. Yeah, it sucks being from Kansas because they have the birth certificate thing. They did make it legal for a couple years to change your birth certificate, and if you have that document and it's been changed, the sex on your birth certificate, you can still change the name on it. But yeah. It's stupid that they have retroactively changed it. I understand it's in the nature of what you cover, but it is hard to stay hopeful in the face of what you just went over, so how do we keep going? I mean, genuinely, the way that I stay optimistic and my whole plan, basically, is, like, I'm gonna teach myself how to be self-sufficient in terms of producing everything that I need to produce. You know, like, if there are gonna be huge food shortages, if I can't buy beef in the grocery store because thousands of head of cattle are dying every summer, I'm gonna teach myself how to hunt rabbits. Like, I don't know how I like. That's my cope. I don't know what everybody else's cope is, because like the just bona fide fact is, if you're stuck living in some place where it's too hot or it's going to get too hot, like there's going to be a solid chunk of the year where you cannot go outside. There's going to be a solid chunk of the year where if your air conditioner stops working, it is going to be deadly hot, dangerously deadly hot. Like homeless people, and there are going to be more and more and more homeless people, are just going to die from exposure. You know what I mean? Like, if you rely on food from the grocery store, I'm sure that there are folks out there, like there's some food item. Everybody sound off. What's one food item over the last couple of years that is like one that you always buy that has just been straight up not on the shelf, point blank, period? We've had the hottest year on record 5 times in a row now. Yeah, and this year was even more irregular. There are laws against smoking weed in public in Oregon cities, unless the cops want an excuse to harass a certain person. Oh, wait, are there? Yes, chicken eggs specifically. That was eventually fixed, but there's about to be another reduction in the egg production stuff. Like, there's going to be fewer eggs in the store because they're culling chickens who have bird flu right now. I'm down for hunting rabbits. Yeah, it's too bad that my back is so messed up right now. Like, as soon as my back feels better, I'm so fucking ready to get back out there and start shooting my bow again. I need to call someone and make sure that I know I'm doing the right class so that I can get my hunting license. And then I need to double check if there's like if there's only a specific time of the year where you can hunt with your bow, because there are sometimes like specifically archery seasons. Grateful for Canada. I've smoked across the street from the cop shop and they do not give a shit. Yeah, that's great. Oh, okay, so some Oregon cities have laws against smoking outdoors, but they're rarely enforced. Okay, I see. Wabbit season. You know what's convenient? In Kansas, wabbit season is all year. Yeah, they'll harass you if you look homeless. True. Cops up here treat you extremely differently if you look poor. Yeah, is that in Canada? That's in BC, right? Anyhoozle. If you're enjoying your time here, hit the like button. You know, we've still got other stuff we can talk about today. We've still got more news. Have you read any good books lately? No, I'm not a huge reader. Oregon state law says you can only smoke on private citizen property, from what I know, which is why there are no smoking bars. Most of the time it's not enforced. You know, it's interesting because I was like kind of looking around at rentals in like Washington and Oregon to try to get a feel for like what the price of a rental is up there. It's crazy how many rentals, like I think the fact that there are literally any rentals that say you're not allowed to smoke anywhere on the property, I kind of think that that's fucking insane, if I'm being honest. Like, I understand in a rental being like, you can't smoke indoors. Sure. But if you provide like a yard or a balcony, I feel like you can go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? Like, that seems unreasonable. And then on top of that, if there's a law that you can't smoke anywhere in public, like, so if you're using the legal cannabis, are you just gonna go sit in your car? Like, you're only like, but then you're gonna get caught out for driving intoxicated. You know what I mean? Like, that seems fucking crazy to me. By the way, if we get to the dono goal for today, I have just enough energy to flex and show you the cool mesh shirt that I'm wearing. but you can't see it unless we hit the dono goal, so... I'm looking into tiny houses and finding some land up north on the cheap. Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I'm going to, like, we're gonna rent first, probably. And then, like, once we're up there, then we can visit properties in person. And then we're probably gonna try to buy a house with a little bit of land. Those laws are usually CYA for the landlords because it's federally illegal. If you smoke on your front porch, they don't actually care. Okay, I don't know what CYA means, but... yeah, if you're homeless, you just can't smoke. What's up, mama? Be mindful of composting toilets and whether you have the energy to empty one of those out. Oh, cover your ass. Okay, I see. I hadn't considered having a composting toilet. I mean, I am aware of them as a concept, but I assume at first I'm just gonna buy a house that has, like, a regular water main connection. And then I'm living in a place where hopefully there will still be water, so we won't need an alternate water source. But I'm still gonna create an alternate water source just in case. Composting toilets are pretty cool, but you cannot piss in them too much. Okay. Yeah, I'm very much getting my own stuff set up so that I can have more of what I love and lose less in 10 to 20 years as the systems get wonky. Right. As the supply chain gets disrupted, I want to continue to have access to stuff. I'm gonna, like, stockpile coffee if I have to. Oh, the tiny houses, a lot of them don't have regular plumbing. Sure, yeah. A lot of the time, it's just like a trailer. Honestly, you could camp in your own backyard, and I swear the cops would try and take it down. Evil. Truly. Composting toilets are good, but it really is just a septic system with extra steps. If you have a septic with a large leach fiddle and you do a bidet instead of toilet paper, it can be 30 plus years between pumps, if ever. Yeah, I would assume if you're doing a composting toilet, you would not want to put toilet paper in it constantly. Hanging out in Walmart, looking at the tents out of the corner of your eye, you spot a cop with one hand on his taser. He's like, I'm watching you. He's ready. Oh, goodness gracious. Any hoozle. Oh boy. Okay, it's almost 6 o'clock. Are you trying to type leech field? Okay. Leech field. Okay. I mean, you messed it up pretty bad a minute ago. You typed fiddle. Fiddle. Hmm. My tomatoes, oh man, the tomatoes that I'm growing, I was hoping to avoid repotting them before putting them in my garden. But I'm gonna have to repot them because they're starting to not do too good. Because they're only in, like, this tiny amount of soil and the plants are, like, 8 or 9 inches tall now. So, yeah, it's annoying. I'm gonna have to go... I really thought about it today. Going to, like, the garden center and buying some more nursery pots or something. One of my fingers types faster than the rest. Oh, I'm doing a little scroll through, see if there's anything else for us to fill time with today. Ah! Hello, Kelsey. Welcome in. We are screaming. Can we get to 100 likes today? That's the question. Truly, that's the question. Good grief. I'm so sleepy. Actually, the sleepiness has worn off a little bit as the muscle relaxer has worn off. Why is everyone screaming? Have you seen what's happening? Everything is scream-worthy. Oh yeah, I should cover this lady who is a sports coach who said that women should be allowed to play in sports. Trans women should be allowed to play in sports. I wake up screaming. Yeah. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, ah! Something specific or just in general? I mean, not anything in particular today. I've got like several different news items to go over, and the screaming could apply to any of them, so... Yeah, I guess I have at least one thing to go over today. At least one more. I have this video. We could do an informal not segment. Oh god. I've been screaming a lot lately. I don't actually scream. It's bad for your voice. I can't help it. How messed up everything is with the world keeps me on edge and angry 24/7. I am having difficulty finding my softness in this world that we live in. Like, and it's a real struggle, because it does when your community is under attack like this. Obviously, that triggers your fight or flight stuff. Oh man, it just now got really, really, really warm. Listen, learning a practical skill like sewing is good stuff. If you ever do get to live somewhere where you're trying to establish intentional community with people, a skill like knowing how to sew is really important. Ooh, I'm gonna get a husky puppy soon and they can scream with me, true. Just, ah! Ah! It's so funny to me that huskies, they don't bark. I mean, maybe some of them do, but I always see videos of them just going like, ah! Like, their voices are all over the place. I try to focus my softness towards my own community. They need it more than the rest of the world right now. Like, I am having a hard time finding my softness in any context. Like, obviously I care about people in my community and I think of them positively, but as far as like emotional warmth and connection, I am just not there. And I want to. It's just hard. Yeah, good skill. Learn about basic electrical systems and how to construct a generator with an alternator. I want to get solar panels and then teach myself the basics of how to maintain solar panels. Yes, huskies are very goofy. They're such goofballs. A goof. Learning how to sew has also extended the life of my clothes by years. Yeah, if you can patch your clothes or repair them or change the size of your clothes as the body changes over time, good stuff. I also think that's part of the toll of streaming all the terrible news. Oh, I mean, I'm sure that that's part of it. But yeah, like, I have a lot of emotional regulation skills that I use, and I use them to put myself in a state of what's called apparent competence, where I don't ask for help, like, I don't emotionally connect with people. I'm just like, I got stuff to do, I got things to accomplish, and that's also unhealthy. It turns out being in emotional overwhelm all the time is not healthy, but also refusing to engage with your emotions is not healthy. Turns out. If you get solar panels, make sure to protect them. My brother made a solar panel setup and some assholes came in and stole the entire setup. Listen, the ideal situation is I can get a house with enough land, with enough trees on it, that I have to, like, drive through, or, like, my house is, like, set back away from the road, so that you can't just straight up see my house from the road. You'd have to, like, go through some woods to get there. Are solar panels viable there in the PNW? Yeah, like, obviously it's not going to be as effective on cloudy days, but it is still functional on cloudy days. And if you have a decent quality battery bank, that also helps because you store power. Like during the night, you'll store the power. What do you think about nuclear? I don't know enough about it to have an opinion. What I know about nuclear is that currently all of the nuclear facilities in the United States are operating on computers, most of them at least, are operating on computers that use the 11-inch floppy disks. Like, I remember floppy disks that were like 3 or 4 inches, like the 4-inch floppy disks. I remember those. I'm 30, but like, I do not remember using any computers that used these giant ones, and I think that they weren't mainstream anyway. I don't even know if any home computers used them. But yeah, so my particular opinion is that it's really not good that the infrastructure for nuclear is currently that old. I think that you could do it safely, but whether our government would do it safely is a totally different question. Steam power with extra steps. In a particular way, solar energy is nuclear energy, since the sun is just a massive natural fusion reactor. True. Floppy disks are unhackable, to be frank. Okay, so I could see that being a benefit. I'm 33. In Canadian primary school, we did have those massive 7-inch floppies. Okay, yeah. I don't know why I said 11 inches. They're like 7 inches. I think nuclear could be a good transition method to get off of fossil fuels, but long term, I don't really know. I mean, here's what I don't know. I don't even know if it's possible to sustain the society that we live in off of alternate electricity sources. Like, if we completely stopped using fossil fuels, let's say that we completely convert over, we install a ton of windmills, every house has solar panels on it. Like, is that enough? Like, is that enough production that we would be able to maintain our current quality of life? I don't actually know. Fear of infrastructure collapse is why I've doubled down on building a physical library of books. I know that Violet in the chat will... she has firm opinions about, like, that you can basically just have redundant devices that host terabytes and terabytes of information. I personally also prefer books, and I'm accumulating a lot more books, which, like, shout out to those of you who've bought me books off of my wish list. Thank you. Because it's much easier. You know, if I have a sewing book that has all the different information that I need in it, I'm not going to have to go Google all the individual questions that I have and find an individual source for every question that I have. So, like, if I had a book that explained how to can and pickle food, or like canning, pickling, and fermenting, or something like that, I would much rather have that physical book than have to deal with fucking being worried about dropping my tablet, you know what I mean? Like, in a world where I can never ever buy a new one. There's still loads of other unsustainable things, like how many cars we have and the impact of animal agriculture. Sure, yeah. I mean, I was just strictly asking the electricity question. Tablets are only usable as long as there's electricity. Baby, that's why I have solar panels on my house. My sewing machine also requires electricity, but that's why I'm gonna have solar panels. Even with theoretical maximums with efficiency, using exclusively renewable energy will drastically increase energy usage, which presents major problems even for renewables. Do you mean, like, in the sense that people will feel more permissive about using the energy if it's from a renewable source? You can get a pedal machine. I know, but I already have my mother-in-law bought me a sewing machine for my birthday. So I have a good sewing machine. I'm hoping to get a solar setup running, but I can build windmills with supplies I can get pretty low cost compared to solar. I don't know how much energy is produced by windmills. And they're meant to be, like, really, 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 really tall so that they're always going. Oh, I mean that the efficiency or even the option of renewables is highly location dependent. Sure, if you live in the mountains, you don't really have a great place to install these giant windmills. So cool, yeah, if you live in Kansas or Minnesota, sure, a shit ton of windmills are going to provide your electricity, but that's also a relatively lower population area. Yeah, obviously, if you're in Nevada, you could power everything through solar. But, you know, obviously there's the question. If you're in somewhere like Washington, if the solar panels are going to produce, like, enough electricity on their own. Excuse me. Yeah, a windmill will probably produce when solar won't. Well, I mean, like, solar is going to produce no matter what. If there's light, it will produce. It might produce less on a cloudy day, but it does still produce. Whereas windmills, they will have time where they're just straight up not doing anything. And that's going to be usually at night and on just low wind days. So it's probably going to be subject to very similar limitations in terms of what time of day it's at maximum production. Ooh, Icelandic windmill design. Okay, so this is going to be something smaller that you could build on your land. The vertical axis wind turbine. Ooh, that's cool. Make sure there's no sound here. Oh, I've seen these! Yes, that's cool. I mean, obviously you do still want it to be elevated somewhat. But yeah, that's really neat. That's cool. I did not realize how big windmills are until I saw one of the blades being transported on a truck. The back had to be hooked up to a separate truck bed because it was like 3 times as long as most 18-wheelers. They're so big. I think at least moving off of fossil fuels is theoretically possible to do now, but the upfront costs and temporary hit to productivity make short-term brains boil. Yeah. I know, like, I think there's this thing happening, like, they're discussing building some solar fields. I think in Lawrence, they're talking about building solar fields, which a lot of people are complaining about because they're like, oh, well, you're replacing some farmland and, oh, it's going to flood more and all this, da-da-da. But there, you know, there's like certain spacing between the solar panels, and they're going to plant a bunch of native wildflowers there to, like, grow under and around the solar panels, like stuff that won't get too tall. And it's otherwise that land would just be farmland anyway, which obviously doesn't really help much to prevent flooding. So people have all these concerns like, oh, it's going to mess up the environment. Oh, it's going to flood more and all this. And I'm like, no, not really. But there's always this resistance initially. People claim a whole bunch of psycho bullshit about the adverse health effects of living near the windmills. I'm like, yeah, they can produce a sound sometimes that some people find irritating. Okay, but it's not like causing brain damage or something. No, that's the repeat COVID infections. Water turbines are pretty cool too. Yeah, water turbines are pretty neat. Oh god. the wind turbines are bad for bats and birds, but like so are coal plants. I mean, yeah, what do we do that doesn't affect fucking migratory patterns? Yeah, people claim that vaccines have 5G microchips in them that cause autism and gay. Take what people say with a grain of salt. Yeah, like there is data that people are annoyed by the light, like the sounds, and that like, you know, having your sleep disrupted can cause adverse health effects. Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't birds generally learn to fly around them? It's they're also so tall that the birds could just fly lower and still fly past. I wish we would work on making a switch to the smaller vertical turbines, but we are currently in the sunk cost fallacy with the big tall ones. I think you would use so much less steel if you just made the short ones. Yeah, consider the adverse health effects of broiling our planet. I have not seen the underwater data centers that Google is making. Light pollution is far worse for migratory birds than windmills. There's always trade offs. There's, you know, it's about harm reduction, you know? If we continue on the path that we're on with with the fossil fuels, it's going to be really bad for all those birds who are dead because it's too hot. Okay, there is an experimental undersea data center. Okay, come back. I need everything back. I need all my windows back. Okay, good. Yeah, it was Microsoft and not Google.
Make it.
Nope, shut up. Don't make any noise. Be quiet. So this is like it's like a container that they're gonna put under the water that has server stuff in it. They've submerged it, and now it's just living out there. And then they pulled it back out. Okay. That's neat. I don't know why you would do that, but that's cool. Oh, you can't see the video? Why did it not pop up? Okay, that's weird. I don't know why it didn't pop up. I did press the button. Like, okay, it's a canister thing that they put underwater. And then it got a bunch of gunk on it, and they sprayed it off. I don't really understand what the point of this was, and I'm not going to listen to any of these people talk for 2 minutes, but... Data centers are only going to get bigger and more power hungry. My understanding is that Microsoft was building massive machine learning servers in Arizona, and they were sucking all the wells dry in order to do it. Yeah, I haven't looked into the details on it, but I've heard people say that, that like chat AI, like that they use up a lot of water, and I don't understand why. Can't wait for the IT guys to start getting killed in submarine accidents. Listen, Microsoft is smart enough to consult with James Cameron before they do something like that. They consume water because the AI servers run really hot. Okay, that makes sense. The same way that farms require huge amounts of water. Cool, cool. Mm. That is certainly a neat thing. Ooh, we're so close to 100 likes, y'all. GPT-3 is massive, so it takes a ton of power to keep all that data stored in physical machines. Sure. Yeah, I don't know why you would use water cooling if you could use an oil-based thing for cooling, but I don't know. Water is more abundant? Sure it is. For now. I'm currently researching cheap vertical garden setups for people to build in their houses with minimal electrical work. That seems fun. I've heard a lot of good things about vertical gardening. I mean, obviously it's more efficient space-wise if you can build like a vertical garden as opposed to everything is going to be in the ground. Yeah, I'm looking forward to saving a shit ton of money. Like even as we get close to the the impending apocalypse and like collapse of resources and all that, because I'm gonna be growing food and therefore not spending money on groceries. Like once my tomato plants start producing this year, I'm not going to need to buy tomatoes for the whole year. In fact, I might have way too many tomatoes because that's how it goes when you grow tomatoes. Sometimes you just have way fucking too many of them. Um, so yeah, if I had like proper garden space, good night, Milena, then I could very easily produce more than enough food, like enough to like make a chunk in um our grocery bill. Definitely a good dehydrator. Yeah, my partner has a good dehydrator. It's not very large, but it is a, decent quality one. Bet you could make lots of valuable friends by selling tomatoes at a farmer's market. I'm not going to do that this year because you have to pay fees in order to sell at the farmer's market and stuff. I want to be a person who goes to the farmer's market a lot this year, but I don't want to like try to sell stuff there. Is one of my white hairs right up front here? That's always so good. It's always so fun. Is it just me, or do conversations more and more frequently evolve into a broad discussion of survival? I mean, there are specific reasons why I talk about survival on my channel, but it also makes sense that the more people are struggling to survive, the more they're going to have those conversations as well. I have seen people on Reddit, and I've mentioned this before, talking about how they taught themselves how to forage food and trap and hunt rabbits because they cannot afford to eat. I can't believe you're anti-white hair. No, I love my white hair. I want them to be visible. I want there to be more of them so that you can see more of them. But they don't always show up. My hair is nice and shiny today, though, so I'll take it. Yeah, I'm a big fan of white hair. I'm not going to be one of those people who, yeah, I'm a white hair supremacist. True, white hair is cool. It's cooler than anybody else. Too cool for school. Okay. White in hair, not in chat. Yes, I'm against white in chat. 420 chat. Yeah, I guess you are over there on the West Coast, because it is 6:20 for me. Black hair power, we shall not be silenced. I'm thinking about taking a little voice break and running to the restroom real quick. Because technically you're supposed to rest your voice after like 2 hours of talking. But I'll be back. And then I have a couple of things that I want to talk about when I get back. But I just need to rest my little voice. I need to give myself a little breaky poo. Breaky poo. but I will be back momentarily. Like 5 minutes, okay? Be good while I'm gone. I better not see any wowies in chat while I'm gone, okay? In fact, when I come back, I better see 100 likes on the video. Back in like 30 minutes with the puppy. Hope you're still on. I will be still on in 30 minutes. All right. See you in a minute. Jump scare. Howdy do, everybody. Did you enjoy taking a little break? Did you enjoy some break? Bugs. I know these don't do that, but an animated rolling isopod would be amazing. I mean, some of them move. Oh, yeah. I mean, actually, some of them in there do roll, but there's just like a very low population of those because they all killed each other. Cuddled the doggo. Always good. Take a break. That's my secret, Lux. I am always broken. Hey, and we got to 101 likes while I was gone. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you and congratulations. Oh my goodness. Okay. Have you ever thought about the influence of a parasocial relationship? This is not one of the things that I had planned to talk about today, but I... okay, so there was this channel called Unis Honest, and it was made by Markiplier and his friend. The channel is formally called Crank Gameplays, but his name is Ethan. So Ethan and Mark had this channel together, and when it ended, Ethan got a tattoo. I don't think Mark did. I think Ethan got a tattoo to commemorate the ending of Unis Honest, and maybe he even got 2 different tattoos commemorating it. And I noticed whenever people would... there were fans who got Unis Honest tattoos, and neither Mark nor Ethan have ever commented on one of those pictures, even if they're tagged in them. They're never they don't ever hit like on those likes or anything. They don't engage with them at all because I think it's because they could inadvertently influence the audience into thinking, oh, if I get a tattoo and I post a picture and I tag them, then I will get attention from them. They'll see me. And people are desperate enough for validation that they will do that. So, even in lower stakes situations, you just have to be really careful with the parasocial stuff. I try to weaponize it for good, Obviously, I provide positive feedback for things. When you guys get your trans-related surgeries, I'm like, hell yeah, that's awesome. Good for you. That's great. And there are probably conservatives out there who could criticize me for providing an influencer level incentive, because then you'll get special attention. Anyway, just something I was thinking about earlier today. No reason. No raisin. I'm chilling, all tired. What's up, Arachnoid? I have been pretty sleepy. I'm on a medicine that's making me pretty sleepy. This might not be a segment on its own, but I did want to talk about it. This person tweeted, let's see, make it bigger. If being able to eat in restaurants really is so vital to mental health that it is unreasonable or impossible to expect people to stop doing that for a while, could someone perhaps explain to me what that means for poor people? Do you think government assistance should include restaurant stipends? I think this is a really interesting question. And she continues on in the thread, but people keep saying, oh, I couldn't possibly stay inside. I have to be able to go out and enjoy myself, or I would be super duper depressed. You're basically saying that this is necessary for your human flourishing and happiness, right? So if you think that that is necessary for human flourishing and happiness, then how are we going to make sure that more people have access to that? And the reason why that's so fun is because it's a little trick, because it's basically trying to get you to say, well, no, I don't think that everyone needs to be able to go out to restaurants. If you can't afford it, then you can't go. Okay, so then you recognize that it's a privilege and not something that you actually need for your mental health, So she continues yeah, or is eating in restaurants actually a luxury that nobody needs, and that's why it's okay that some people may never be able to afford that? It can't be both. And like, oh, or are maybe you gonna say that it's just that some people aren't built to be able to go without it, like those special people are, like, oh, the other people can go without. How many of you told me you, quote, just aren't built to handle isolation like you, so you couldn't stay home before? Because apparently high risk people are automatons who don't actually need human contact? Do people need to be able to have in person human contact for mental health? Or is it perfectly okay to say high risk people might need to stay home indefinitely because it's unreasonable to expect other people to make public spaces safe for us because that's not an actual need? Which is it? Like, it's just trying to. I wish they'd be honest and just say, yes, it is essential. I just think that some people don't deserve essentials. I mean, yeah, that's kind of like sort of, I guess, the core of what she's digging at here is that there are people like they do believe that it is something that they need. Like they do believe that it is essential for them, and then they have to do cognitive dissonance, basically, or because they. I don't think that they are willing to acknowledge their belief that some people don't deserve essentials. Like if you can't work, most people, I would say, probably would say that they think that you don't deserve like to eat steak. If you're a disabled person and you're on a government program for your food, those people are probably like against you having enough food that it's like a good life. They're like, oh, we'll help you, but only the absolute bare minimum. But don't you see? If I don't get my Olive Garden breadsticks, I will go into AFib. Yeah, just my heart will stop. Whatever this person is saying in particular, I believe people should be able to use WIC at restaurants. I think the no hot food rule with SNAP is so stupid. Like the food stamps program, I think the fact that you can't, I think my seat is too low. Nope, it's as high as it goes. I think that's a stupid restriction. It's cruel. Yeah, it's just cruel. No hot foods, sushi it is. Champagne socialism, though. Listen, yeah, like, I think if luxuries don't require human suffering or unnecessary animal suffering, like, I don't think that you should have veal where the animal is, like, tied to the floor and can't move. You can have a low activity animal that you don't encourage to, like, run around. Sure, if you're trying to preserve tenderness. What is it? Foie gras? Something that comes from ducks, but they like force feed the ducks to make them really fat. And like, okay, I don't think that's ethical, right? But I do think that we should have things that are considered luxury items that should just be accessible to people. Is that what veal is? I thought it was baby cow meat. So veal is baby cow meat, yes, but they strap the cows down, like they strap the babies down to the floor or like chain them in one place so that they can't get up and walk around because I switched from veal to foie gras. My bad. So veal, yes, in order to make it like really tender, they don't want the animals to work the muscles at all. Yeah, but foie gras is the liver of a duck that's been force fed. Basically, the popular opinion is that if you are broke, you deserve to just be happy that you have a little bit of food to eat, a roof over your head, and utilities. You don't deserve anything fun. I've met people who feel that way. I mean, yeah. When it comes to like buying special foods on Snap, like one thing that I think people don't get is that Snap is not necessarily your only food budget, and also that you can budget the like amount of money that you have on your food stamps card. You can eat less this month if you're like, okay, my birthday is next month and I really just want a steak And I'm even willing to like buy a steak on clearance, like one that they're about to get rid of. So, you know, you could save it up, or you could work some extra hours that month and therefore be able to afford it from your regular income, from your job. Like I had food stamps and I had a job at the same time, you know? Um, and sometimes I would buy myself nice food because I was able to afford, like, my food budget for my money that I make could have been like I had like a certain amount per month that I would be able to afford. And then, but that amount would not be enough to feed me for the month, you know? So with food stamps, the food stamps amount was more or less what it took to feed me in a month. And if I wanted to get something a little bit extra, that tiny bit of budget that I would have had available for all of my food before is something that I can use for like the nice thing that I want this month. Like, yeah, maybe I do want fucking crab for my birthday. Like once a year, once in 12 months out of the year. You think I don't deserve a nice thing once a year? But genuinely, like, I think that people believe that you shouldn't ever get to have that nice thing, even if you are like budgeting for it, essentially. Like you worked those extra hours, you ate less last month in order to prepare. You saved up the money for the ingredients to make a nice cake for yourself. You bought cake flour, which is expensive, you know? Like, I feel like food stamps help support companies not paying their workers enough. Yeah. I think that's fair. That's a fair criticism. Like, but there are some people who can't work, and I think that if you're on disability benefits, that's supposed to be for your like rent, and so you would also get food stamps, which is like, in the US it's a card, because it's a federal program. It's like a card that you use and you swipe it like a debit card at places that sell food, you know? A lot, I've heard that a lot of Walmart employees are on food stamps. It is like a corporate welfare system in that way, but it does exist for people who are also just unemployed. So, like, it's still tied to you having a job. If you're like, okay, we need to make sure that the minimum wage stays at a level that people can afford food at, you know? It still requires you to work in order to earn the food. I mean, technically with food stamps, you do have to work in order to earn the food as well, unless you have a particular thing where you're like, I'm disabled, or I'm applying to a certain number of jobs per week kind of thing. There is, yeah, a little bit of that. You have to earn it kind of thing. Like, if you work under a certain amount of hours, they won't give you food stamps. It's really strange. It's weird that I have to apply separately for food stamps, even though I'm on SSI. Well, yeah, SSI is not for your food, I guess. They expect you to spend that money. It's like they expect you to spend that money on your rent, and then they expect you to sign up for Medicaid, and that money is going to go to the healthcare facility specifically. It's just like anything to avoid giving you just a blank check to do whatever the fuck you want with. They're like, oh, I will only give you this much money for food, and then I will give you this much money for healthcare, and I will give you this much money for rent, and that's it. Like, okay, well, you could have just given me a chunk of money and I could have dealt with all that myself instead of having to sign up for like 3 different programs. Ooh, that's a really interesting point, Mama. The crazy part is that these people are hyper-individualists, but when you ask them to justify this, they'll say that it's because these people, quote, aren't contributing, like that they want to cut off these government programs or pay very little or whatever, because, oh, these people aren't contributing. So contributing to the community is an obligation when you're poor, but optional when you're rich? Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Like, oh, these people don't deserve anything because they aren't contributing. Like, okay, what about Jeff Bezos and his, like, $0 in taxes that he pays every year? only specific items get greenlit with specific deliberately tight budgets. More a positive emergence from the perspective of these neoliberal ghouls. Yeah, I don't know. It's it's super restrictive. I will say, like, they do not, they, I guess the budget for these welfare services is really small, and they don't want to give it out to people, and like they're going to continue as the cost of inflation goes up. I'm sure they're going to continue trying to cut these social programs. And then there are more and more and more people who are disabled or having a hard time finding work. So there are more and more and more people who are going to need these type of services. So then consequently more people are going to be denied. Excuse me. But Jeff Bezos provides a service. That's where I order my chicken nuggies. You order the chicken nuggies on Amazon? That's so strange. The convenience of Amazon. I think like if we can have like I'll even accept adding an extra couple days on top on the shipping times. But I think that on in principle having like goods that are available to you that quickly is a good thing. Like I still like the idea of a globally connected economy. Like we don't grow a lot of coffee here in the US, I don't think. So I'm cool with still having a global import of coffee as long as it's being done without exploitation and unnecessary like um damage to the economy. Oh dang, Kaylin. Kaylin, I think it is Kaylin. I had my lower left leg amputated last July. I'm hella lucky being trans femme that I have family to live with. Otherwise, I could not afford rent where I live. Yeah, I don't think disability is high enough to afford rent anywhere. So you're expected to live with family or have a partner, but you can't marry that partner because then you will lose access to your benefits and you will become a dependent, like for legal tax purposes. But yeah, and like having an amputation, I know that there are a lot of great options for prosthetics, but they're fucking crazy expensive. Prosthetics, they're so expensive. I only get 1,300 a month Canadian. Oh my god. Um anyway, this tweet thread that we were looking at earlier basically just concludes that this basically people have like a disabled people, I guess, are not fully human and don't have the same human needs or the same rights as you. Like they just don't deserve to, just wear a goddamn respirator outside and then we can all go out and do things. I just got off work. Why are we screaming today? I mean, it's just a general screaming. It's not about any one thing in particular. We also can't own property in the US. Yeah, like disabled people can't own any property worth more than like $2,000 or something. Like, I think you're allowed to own one car as a disabled person, but you are not allowed to own a second car, and you can't own like a house, I'm pretty sure. Because, like, oh, you could sell your house. Like, if you have assets that you could sell, they will not give you the money until you sell off everything you have. Ouch. Not super relevant. Yeah, I saw a TikTok earlier about how it is annoying that prosthetic companies will put their logo on the prosthetic, like forcing you to have an ad tattooed on your limb. I do feel like that's a little bit of an overreach. Like, I'm not a fucking race car, okay? You can't slap a sticker on me like that. Yeah, existential screaming. Don't forget to hit the like button if you're just coming in. Hit like, say hello in the chat. Make friends. Join the Discord server. Look at the links in the below for the merch. Oh my god, look at the hoodie. It's so warm and comfy. And it's nice and soft on the inside. I don't think I'm gonna get to show off my shirt today. I'm wearing a mess shirt, but we need to get to the dono goal or I cannot show it off to you. Too bad, so sad. Look at the cool collar it has, though. Oh, little peek of the mesh. Oh, put it away. Okay, there was another thing on Twitter that I was thinking about looking at briefly, and then there is an Aaron in the Read story. I like saying Aaron in the Read, apparently. I wanted to look at... Oh, yeah, this. So, more like error in the reading? No. Erin in the Read, yeah, like she's a water nymph lying in wait to devour. Yeah, she's a Selkie. Anyway, this is still on the topic of COVID. Am I misremembering which one is Aaron Reed? No. I mean, well, I don't know. Aaron Reed is this one. She's this one with the Substack. Substack and a Substack. She's the news lady who made the legislative map of where it's safe to go in the US. Anyway, this was a fun little thing. Apparently, concert halls are having to make special rules about coughing during performances, or special accommodations, I guess you could say. The world-renowned Francis Winsper Center for Music is one of the best places to hear live music. But just as you are able to hear every nuance of a performance, other noises are easy to hear as well. Please be as respectful of your fellow patrons as you hope they will be to you. If you feel a coughing fit coming on, our fabulous front-of-house staff can direct you to a room where you can hear the performance while you clear your throat. Please unwrap any cough candies or breath mints before the performance begins. In between movements of longer works is a good time to clear your throat. Please ensure that the ringer on your mobile device is switched off, etc. But yeah, like, do you ever remember there having to be special designated coughing rooms at performance halls? That's new. That's new. God, same, mama. Aaron Reed's autistic special interest is keeping everyone informed about trans rights. Same. I cannot stop myself. Good lord. And we stan. Yeah. If I needed to cough in a room all night instead of watching the symphony, I probably wouldn't bother going to the symphony. She says, I went to a ballet in December and it certainly could have used a coughing room, but like the room actually existing seems worse somehow, as though we're giving up. Isn't that crazy? That like a concert hall has to go, hey, we have a special coughing room for if you will not stop coughing. This is truly, we've just come to accept our fate. We're just totally normalizing the let her rip strategy. Absolutely letting her rip. Can we smoke in the coughing room? That's a good question. Oh boy, the D&D campaign that I've been mentioning here and there might be starting soon. Yes. Yeah, it's all purple and themed after the Pokemon coughing. A coughing room sounds like a health hazard in itself. Are they cleaning it between people? Apparently that venue has done a lot of upgrading to their ventilation system, but yes, you are creating a room where people go and expel viral load. So cringe. So cringe, y'all. Play an enchanter and dump all your points into charisma. You don't need to be good at casting spells. I am going to be playing a druid. We're going to try it out. I think that there are a lot. There's one repeat. Like, there's two, I think two magi or two wizards or something in the party. So there's already a little bit of redundancy. I don't want to switch. If I'm the only druid in the party right now, I don't want to switch. I don't claim to be a wholesome stream. We do smuggy chat sometimes. Not very often, but we do smuggy chat. Are you saying Druid is arguably one of the most busted classes, or just Enchanter? Doo-doo. Indeed, doo-doo. I kind of want to just chill for a little bit before we talk about another segment. Like, yeah, I guess I'm only going to have like 2 segments today. I heard Smuggy and got here as quickly as I could. Yes, welcome back, Silent. Lurking, but it's like I need to be here presently for the Smuggy chat. I was only stating that it's a fact that it happens sometimes. Coughing has always been an annoyance in concert halls. No, okay, I'm not asking if it hasn't always been an annoyance. Like, I'm sure that occasionally people cough. But apparently it is such a prevalent problem now that there is a designated coughing room. That's what I'm wondering, is like, is it, like, was it nearly so much of a... It can't have been this big of a problem before if they didn't need a designated coughing room. Smuggy incarnate... Druids are busted because, like clerics, they get access to their whole spell list, and you just prepare whatever you want for the day and can cast from what you prep. High skill ceiling, but also a high skill floor. Okay. I'm looking forward to learning how to play him. I just wanted a druid because that's what I like, the class that I want to play, usually. He's gonna be a Circle of Spores druid. Me, linguist, type good. Oh god, y'all. Make sure you're staying hydrated. I think at this point, wearing more masks in public is not necessarily going to curb the amount of coughing. So the coughing room might still be necessary. However, I do think that none of those people who are coughing are wearing masks, and that it would be a safer environment if they were wearing masks, even the asymptomatic people. I love bards. Bard for life. I don't even think we have a bard in our party. I don't know. There's like, I think there's like 8 people in the Discord server total, which means that there's 7 people in our party or something like that, maybe 9 total. But man, it's going to be a crowded game. A friend of mine is going to start up a Stardew Valley-based D&D campaign that we're hoping to wrap up in like approximately a year's time. Someone could do an OnlyFans warlock / cleric. Your patron or god is donos from other people. I think we're just doing 5e edition of D&D, just like the most recent one. But we're hopefully gonna have like our session zeros starting sometime in the next week or so. And then we're hypothetically gonna start like having our regular meetings toward the end of this month. So like every other week, doing D&D on like a Saturday. I think it's gonna be a good time. My character is just a cis... He's like an alt bisexual cis boy. I'm doing Circle of Spores. Yeah. Which I know was not originally part of the game, but I think it has been incorporated into the game now. My DM doesn't mind doing a little bit of homebrew stuff anyway, so even if Circle of Spores wasn't in there... I just am a death druid. That's what I am as a human person. Like I unironically want to transition into one of those like kind of hunched creatures with like an entire fucking cow skull over their head or whatever. Mushrooms growing everywhere. Spores has good survivability. Yeah. And like it's a party of like 7 or 8 people, so and there is a cleric, so I'm not really like worried that much. But it's gonna be a good time. You can't kill me in any way that matters. I want to transition into one of those sexy androids, like not the ones that look human, the ones that are shiny and hot. So you all should, first of all, like, if you're interested, my birthday just passed, but you can still get me something off my wish list. But something that I noticed while I was looking at some of the shops on Throne that sell, like, clothing, and particularly, like, if you're looking for fishnets and goth stuff, they sometimes sell, like, basically lingerie. And even the regular clothes, I think, they're, you could hire a model, or you could buy a mannequin, or you could buy a sex doll. Look at, just go scrolling through on Throne on, like, one of the pages that sells cool, cute goth clothes or bras or something. They put the underwear and the clothes on sex dolls and then pose them. I swear to God. Can I transition into a marble statue carved by a classical pederast, please? Listen. Oh, good grief. Ugh. Just a strange realizations. Ugh, 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 ugh. So the last thing that I'm planning on talking about serious-wise today is this head coach saying that she believes trans women should be allowed to play in women's sports. I went to Italy too much as a young boy and it fucked me up a little. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I like the idea of traveling because I want to be able to taste amazing foods that are like classic and local to the area. That's like I can look at beautiful pictures. I guess, there is something nice about being at a beach. Or like, to experience the water and the sand and all that. But it's not like I would spend very much time there at the beach in full sun. No, probably not. So like there are some cool things to see, but not very often for me. Like it's not really about going to the place for the sake of being there. But I would hella travel. I would do like a food tour travel. I don't know how, like I might wait a little bit longer for COVID to like chill the fuck out a little bit. And even then I'll still wear like pretty intense personal protective equipment if I have to fly on a plane. Like, you think I won't front load by eating a shit ton of carbs and protein and then get on an airplane and keep my entire mask on for the entire duration of the trip over the ocean? Play me. I will absolutely. Like, I'll just chill. I will not eat for a 16-hour flight. Don't worry about me. I don't actually know if flights are that long. How long is a flight from, like, let's say if I wanted to go to Kansas City International Airport to like Rome. I don't know. How long of a flight would that be? How many hours? Okay, like a 12-hour flight. Okay, cool. Yeah. From Detroit to Beijing is 12 plus hours. And I'm assuming if I'm flying out from like, if I were to fly out from the middle of the country, I would probably have a connecting flight from like somewhere on the coast. So it would only be flying like from the East Coast over. Yeah, anyway. I do like the idea of traveling for food. That is the point that I was making. I've never flown before. It is fine. I guess. Like, I haven't done it since I was a child, and I've only flown, like, I want to say, like, I mean, like, 3 times, probably. Or maybe 4, because it's like you fly there and then you fly back. So maybe, like, 4 times. Aside from local music, food is the only reason to travel. Yes, thank you, exactly. At the rate our government is heading, I won't be surprised if they try to ban masks in general. I don't know. I don't think they can do that because that is definite breach of the First Amendment, right to freedom of expression. And also, you could easily argue that it's a breach of the Americans with Disabilities Act to prevent, like, people with certain diagnosis from being able to protect themselves from deadly disease. But, you know, private businesses are doing things like, I saw a sign posted on the outside of a building, like a paper that was printed, that basically said, if you come in with a mask, like, that is a security risk to us, so please make your way to the front desk and an employee will accompany you for the duration of your... It's like, okay, what the fuck are you doing? They just put a sign out there that basically, it's like, okay, they might as well have just said, if you're wearing a hoodie, that's going to obscure your face and we're going to have someone follow you. Like, okay, it's racist. Yeah, businesses can... I guess they can't deny you service outright for wearing a mask. I mean, it's not a protected thing, though. Like, I guess, yeah, again, unless you could nail them under the Americans with Disabilities Act. But, ooh, it would be hard to argue in court, I think. 12 hours, don't fly Boeing. Yeah, how do you know? Like, I'm gonna make sure to, like, if I fly, I have to fly on a fucking airliner that I know does not use Boeing planes? How much research am I gonna have to do that? Come on, man. You'd likely have a layover in Detroit or Houston if you're going international, because they have huge airports that would be doing an international flight, potentially. Okay, that makes sense. Neat. I've never been to Detroit. I don't think I've ever been to Michigan before. Stupid fucking gnats. Sorry about the loud noise. They truly felt so victimized by being asked to wear a mask for the protection of others that they'll put up, quote, no mask signs out of spite. I do feel like, yeah, it's super weird, though. Like, don't infringe on my freedom, but I'll infringe on yours. I'm so glad that I don't live in a place where people give me grief about my mask. Because if I did, I got so much shit to talk. I'm just like, they're like, why are you wearing a mask? I'm like, because I'm an American, leave it, like, get on my fucking business, you know? Like, because I can, don't talk to me. Or, like, act like they're crazy, like, are you okay? I'm sorry, do you have amnesia? Like, I know that COVID causes brain damage, but I didn't realize that it could cause this level of serious amnesia. Did you forget about COVID? Like, just treat them like they're a fucking idiot. But good thing nobody ever talks to me about my mask. Because I don't live in a place where people bother you about it. It's a fashion statement. It completes my outfit. I don't want to be perceived. That's another good reason to wear a mask. Because I don't want you to look at me. Cringe, 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 doom doo doom, cringe, cringe, cringe. That's Papers, Please. Does that happen to anybody else? Sometimes, just randomly. Papers, Please music. Womp, 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 womp. What's everybody's favorite video game or TV show or movie lately? I have been rewatching House of the Dragon multiple times as I am so hyped and ready for the new show to come out in June. New season. I know Papers, Please is such a fucking banger. I haven't played it in such a long time. I really want to go through and, like, get all the endings if I can. Invincible Season 2 just finished. Yes! I haven't seen any of it. We can watch it. I'm so excited. We were waiting for it to come out because I'm like, I don't want to watch 4 episodes week by week and then wait 2 months and then watch another 4 episodes week by week. So we can binge it now. Yes, I'm excited. I've had a couple things spoiled for me because meme makers are fucking assholes. Like, don't... I guess, like, Facebook is a little bit unique in that it will show me stuff from pages that I am not subscribed to. And I'm like, yes, like, stop showing me fucking Invincible memes. Been rewatching Sense8 because apparently it's been too long since I had psychedelics. Oh, fair. I'm ugly. This mask is being worn for your own protection. Rewatching RWBY. I've never seen it. It's called Ruby? Is it just pronounced Ruby? Oh, man. Repositioning is quite difficult sometimes. Didn't H Bomber Guy make like a really long video about Ruby? I think that's one that I may not have watched. Because I don't know anything about that show. Replaying New Vegas because I'm a walking meme. Okay. Whoa. Closed my hair in the lid. Everybody's having a really hard time typing today. Like, numerous people in chat have just really been struggling. I think my T is... There's either something underneath my T key or my T key is starting to go out because it's, like, not being super responsive lately. I'm rewatching Avatar, but with the Dutch dub, and oh my god, why do I have to speak this ridiculous language? Don't come for my wig like that. The enter key is too close to the shift key. What is that one called? Is that Yamero? No, that's not Yamero. It is Yamero! Oh, man. Oh, gosh. Transmask having T problems? What, closing something in something? What happened? Apparently, setting your subtitles to a certain language is one of the best ways to integrate yourself in the language. Obviously, it helps to have a cursory familiarity with the language, but... Oh, H-Bomb made a video about it being disappointing, I see. Oh, my T is... Okay, my T key is borked, and therefore transmask problems. I see. That makes sense. I'm just dumb. I'm definitely at that time of day where I do not have much brain power left. I didn't take my Ritalin in the first place today, so if I can survive this... Oh boy, I just have to make it through to dinner, and then I'll take another muscle relaxer after dinner, and then I'll go the fuck to sleep after I spend a while trying to recoup my losses with this giant mandala that I'm trying to make. Wait, shit, I forgot my Adderall today. Yeah, so long as I'm on a muscle relaxer, I'm gonna refrain from taking the brain juice. So sad. That's part of why we only have 2 segments today, so that I don't have to edit very much tomorrow. I've thought about turning on foreign subtitles just to see how much I've learned. Yeah, I mean, subs are a good way to start, and then you can do dubs as well if you want to. Just, like, integrating into it. That was, like, the #1 advice that I was like... I asked my French teacher when I was leaving the school, like, what's one piece of advice you would have about retaining the language? And she was like, watch movies in that language. And I was like, bet, I can do that. Oh, I've thought about turning on foreign subtitles to see how much I could learn from just straight up having it on there. Yeah. when I haven't had my coffee, my chances of forgetting to grab my coffee on the way to work go up exponentially. You have like your little Keurig cup and you just like take an espresso shot or something, and then you get your actual coffee that you plan to take to work. You just got to get that shot of espresso off first thing. As soon as you roll out of bed, shot of espresso. I mean, technically speaking, you could make cold brew and have it ready and just like drink a quick shot of cold brew in the morning. And then it'll like in about 10 or 15 minutes, it'll start to kick in, and then you'll remember everything you need before you leave the house. Get into espresso. I took 3 years of French in high school, so I've considered like, oh, should I, the next time I do a Marvel rewatch, should I just go ahead and put on French subtitles? If I'm gonna be, I mean, I might not be watching the TV the whole time, because like, I'll sit there and crochet while I'm watching a movie, but who knows? Oh my god, the hiccups. Frustration. Well, I love cold brew once I discovered it. I have given up on hot coffee forever. It chemically changes stuff. It's different. Like the acidity is way higher in those hot brewed coffees. I made myself some cold brew coffee once, but I think that I left it in my fridge for a long time and never ended up drinking it. Maybe I should just buy a bottle of it and try it out that way, like buy a specific cold brew brand. Oh, my back is so sore. Ugh. I feel like I'm really short in my chair because I'm like, back hurts, want to slouch. Drink a little bit more water and then we'll start on our final segment for the day. So sad, final segment. Ergonomic stuff is all about arching your lower back, but I just want to shrimp. My back is fairly arched right now. I'm leaning forward a lot, I think, and that's putting stress on my upper back. So it's like I have all this mega pain in my low back, but since I'm trying to stay off of my low back, I'm getting it in my upper back more. We've been talking about the anti-trans sports conversation for a long time. I've personally been embroiled in this discussion for years, even if it's not something I necessarily started talking about on my channel before fairly recently. Like, when I started streaming, I started talking about this issue more because it's come up more within the last couple of years. The idea that, oh, trans women can't play in women's sports, it's an unfair advantage, and you know, men who just want to win the competitions are going to join, and then there's going to be no such thing as women's sports anymore. They're going to completely eliminate, like, women won't even ever be able to compete. And, like, honestly, I personally think that that's silly because human beings are only a little bit sexually dimorphic. There are some average differences, but frankly, if you let men and women compete, they will even out more or less if you account for things like height and weight. Amazing, have height and weight classes. There isn't actually substantial evidence that testosterone at any point in your life gives you like an overwhelming significant advantage. So the stats are not there. But you know, the conversation's been ongoing for a long time, and there's this claim of unfairness, and you know, why, if you are worried about quote men pretending to be women in order to gain in access to the leagues, like, why would you punish all women for that instead of just having enough scrutiny to make sure that someone isn't just cheating? And there is scrutiny on that because at the Olympic level, in order to gain access to participation, you have to be on hormone therapy for a certain amount of time. Your current blood level of testosterone has to be below a certain level if you're trans, and that level is like lower than what a lot of cis women have. Especially cis women athletes tend to have like a slightly higher level of testosterone than the general population, I think. And trans women's level has to be below that of the average cis woman. So there's just like no man who truly identifies as a man is going to be willing to go through the hormone treatment and that period of time that's required before they can participate. In fact, we know this because Ben Shapiro helped produce that stupid comedy movie, I say comedy very loosely, called Lady Ballers, where these guys pretend to be women in order to win at basketball, basically. They originally wanted to make that a documentary, but none of the men that they were looking at having in it were willing to go on hormone therapy in order to join women's teams. So there you go. We have proof that this is not how things work. So, in the midst of all that, it is nice to have some people out there being the voice of reason. You know, there are so many stupid little nitpicky things that transphobic people will try to tear apart. And it's nice to see some pro-trans sentiment once in a while. That's what we're going to talk about today. Some pro-trans sentiment. And, you know, the backlash, of course. Yeah, the annoying thing is that these conversations are heavily nuanced and cool, like all the science is, but transphobic people are incapable of grasping the simplest concepts, so we spend the whole time trying to communicate fundamentals. Yeah, like they can't get past the initial hurdle of their reflexive sense that, oh, men are obviously stronger than women. Like, yeah, on average, that is the case for the most part. But if you account for height and weight, and also, like, that's also talking about the average general population, where men tend to have labor jobs and women tend to have domestic jobs. And, like, in higher levels of athletic performance, where they're both doing athletics, the differences, like, average out to being like less extreme for sure. Anyway, South Carolina head coach Dawn Staley makes a positive statement in support of trans rights. Let's see. Okay, hold on. Let's turn this up a little bit. Ooh, thank you so much, Kaylin, for the $20 dono. Thanks for all the content. You're welcome. Happy to provide. Happy to provide a chill time. Happy to bring you the news. I much appreciate that dono. That was quite nice. Ooh, are we going to flex today? We'll see. We might flex today. We have $30 left. And then I'll show you my new mesh shirt that Milena got me off my wish list. Okay.
If you're a woman, you should play. If you consider yourself a woman and you want to play sports or vice versa, you should be able to play. That's my opinion.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure that she's a little bit louder. Bring it back a little bit. So she's just been asked if she thinks trans women should play in the sports.
If you're a woman, you should play. If you consider yourself a woman and you want to play sports or vice versa, you should be able to play. That's my opinion.
It's so simple. Look at that.
You want me to go deeper?
Do you think transgender women should be able to participate
that's your question
in
you want
basketball?
me to ask. I mean, you want to ask, so I'll give you that. Yes. Yes.
Look at that.
So now the barnstorm of people are going to flood my timeline and be a distraction to me on one of the biggest days of our game. And I'm okay with that. I really am.
I love that. Yeah. Her response also has the wherewithal to correctly point out how people are asking in bad faith. Like, I'm in the middle of the Final Four championship, apparently. That's what the background of this video indicates. She's like, this is one of the biggest games of the year, potentially of her career. I don't even know. And she's just like, yeah, you're asking me this, and like, my opinion is yes, you should be able to participate in the sports. She did not qualify that at all. She wasn't like, oh, if you've gone through male puberty, then da 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 da. She's literally like, if you identify as a woman, you should be able to play with the women. If you identify as a man, you should be able to play with the men. After this statement, her team went on to rock their championship game and finished the season undefeated. Yo! And the funny thing about this is that you've got 5th place losers like Riley Gaines. Let me see if I can find her right now. I want to see if I can find this specific tweet where she talks about this. She like quote tweets, or she goes on Fox News or something. God, it was like a week ago, so she tweets all the time. So yeah, so Riley Gaines, 5th place swimming finisher, says that coach who we were just talking about is, quote, entirely incompetent or a sellout for saying that trans women should be allowed to play women's sports. It's like, you can't claim that she's not competent because she won. Like, her team won their season undefeated. So, okay, tied for 5th place, Riley Gaines thinks that she's an expert, that she's more competent than Dawn Staley. I don't think so. I think that you are a fucking idiot. Oh my god, dude. Oh, okay, so she did quote tweet later and say, yeah, I stand by what I said. Personally, I think she's a sellout. I also think she's a dang good coach. So she can be both at the same time. So you tried to nail her credibility by saying she's not even good at her job, but then she's good at her job, so you have to just claim to be, oh, she's a sellout. Yeah, if there's anybody who's an expert on being a sellout, it's Riley Gaines. Like, Riley Gaines, I think she makes a lot of money making appearances on Fox News and like going around places to talk about her experience. And like potentially she's gonna get signed to like some company that wants to use her image to make them look better to the conservatives that they serve. Like, I'm sure that Riley Gaines is benefiting from this materially. And because of that, because there is a probably multi-million-dollar media apparatus to like sell the story that she's telling against trans people, yeah, I guess if you're on that side of things, you might assume that there is some, media apparatus with a bunch of stuff going into it, like on the Democrat side or on the liberal side, like, oh, you're pushing this agenda. You're on the payroll of George Soros or whatever. Like, but there isn't an equivalent. We know this because leftist channels don't get that big. Like, how many pretty sizable conservative outlets are there online compared to how many sizable explicitly leftist creators or channels there are online? One of them obviously is being funded by think tanks. Yeah, Riley Gaines, I guess I should have front-loaded that a little bit better, but Riley Gaines was a swimmer, and she competed in a swim meet where Leah Thomas, who is a transgender woman, was participating, and she tied for 5th place in one of the races. And I think that maybe it might have been a race where Leah Thomas was in it. So she won. She did more poorly than the trans woman and 4 other women on the team, and she has now made a career out of like, oh my god, this was so horrible, having to compete against this man pretending to be a woman and having to change in the locker room with this, quote, fully intact male, like, all that kind of rhetoric. Yeah, she lost to 4 cis women as well. Oh, I guess I did have a third thing. So we do have one more thing to talk about after this. But yeah, someone who is like an expert at her field being called like incompetent and a sellout by a woman, a young woman who like has, I mean, she was good enough to be at the race in the first place. And it was like a pretty decent competition. Okay. I'm not saying that she was like incapable of competitive swimming, but that she was not in the top echelon. And she is unable to accept that and therefore has to make it all about the fact that there was a trans competitor in the race. Yeah, she could have been remembered as like being a halfway decent collegiate swimmer, and instead she will be forever remembered as a bigot and perpetual loser. Just like a sore loser. That's the main thing that people are going to remember you as. Compared to Dawn Staley, who is going to be remembered as an ally and a woman who was damn good at her job and who didn't make any money off of this, and in fact is going to be dealing with a wave of harassment during one of the most important times in her career. Yeah, the whole Conservative Party. Sore losers. Sore losers. Get used to it. Get good, son. Get used to it. Okay, the seat does not go up any further than it is. Sore winners just as often, too. Yeah, they're not really nice when they win, either. Oh, look at that. Another segment in the bag. Another segment in the bag. Oh. Whoa. Okay, yeah, I need this link to put in my stream notes. Coach Pro Trans. And then we have one more little segment. And then we can call it a night. Doesn't that sound good? Then it'll be dinner time. Dinner time. Dinner time. 110 likes. Hey, I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Can we reach the stream goal? $30 more. If I reach the stream goal every stream, that's $200 a week. Plus the like 500 that I get from Patreon every month. So help me save up money to move across the country. One more. One more. Ugh, I can't wait to get back out there with my bow. Complain, cry, complain. Why? I really feel like my chair was taller before, and now I've made it go down, and now it won't come back up all the way. Like, I'm not usually this short. Obnoxious. I'm gonna have to sit on my feet for this video. Okay. We basically get to just read an Aaron Reed article and riff on it and talk about it a little bit. Later, Vivi. Good night. Okay, one more segment. Wings. Very cute. Just that you don't see them on the other side very much. That's okay, though. Okay. Sit on my feet so that I'm more in frame, apparently. Okay. There. Now I'm more in frame. I'm looking forward to watching TV tonight. I don't even know what I'm gonna watch, but it's gonna be something. Oh, we've been talking about Florida for a long time on this channel. It's shocking how many videos I have about Florida, considering that I do not live there. Like, Kansas and Florida, the two states that I talk about the most, one of them I live in, the other one just happens to be leading our country toward the fash. But yeah, they keep doing things restricting, oh, here's what you can and can't say in schools regarding educating about gay and trans people. You know, here's what you can or can't do in the workplace sometimes. Like, oh, if you're a state employee, you don't get to have personal pronouns that differ from the ones that you were assigned at birth or whatever. Oh my god, the burping is so real. In this instance, Florida tried to create, you know, like a you can't talk about trans people in schools thing, and I think that was affecting how they were deciding how a trans teacher could be referred to. Like, I think the goal of that is definitely a part of the goal of that is to prevent gay and trans people from being teachers, or like gradually forcing them out. Because if you can't, quote, educate about hormones, or sorry, if you can't educate about pronouns or gender pronouns specifically, like transgender pronouns, then you would hypothetically not be able to educate students about your personal pronouns as a trans person. Like, if you use they, them pronouns, then educating the students and saying, well, here's what it means. It means that I identify as non-binary, blah, 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 blah. That could be seen as a breach of the Don't Say Gay bill that they made. And so that's what is kind of running through the courts now. This judge has determined that a transgender teacher cannot be forced to go by a pronoun that they do not prefer. Like, the judge ruled that she's allowed to be called Ms. and can use female pronouns in the classroom. Previously, there was a requirement at the school that the teacher be referred to as Mr. or just teacher in the classroom. But this is not acceptable based on the First Amendment protections, and I'm not sure if it's like speech protections or if it's expression. We'll see as we go further in. She's allowed to use Ms. and female pronouns. This decision follows the passage of this bill, which mandated that teachers could not use pronouns that, quote, do not correspond to his or her sex. Okay, so they made a specific law that says teachers are not allowed to identify with pronouns that do not respond to their sex at birth. This Judge Mark Walker enjoined the state from enforcing the law against this teacher, stating, quote, the state of Florida has not justified this grave restraint, and so the United States Constitution does not tolerate it. Ours is a union of individuals celebrating ourselves and singing ourselves and being ourselves without apology. That's a pretty wild positive statement. This plaintiff has been known as Ms. Wood for 4 years. She regularly would write her name, title, and pronouns on the whiteboard, and she used these pronouns with the students, faculty, and staff, as well as in the personal life. In evaluating Ms. Wood's usage of her name, title, and pronouns, the judge determined, quote, the freedom to use the title Ms. and to share her preferred pronouns at school is essential to her basic humanity. Let me see. The judge commenced the ruling with a scathing critique of the state, writing, quote, once again, the state of Florida has a First Amendment problem. It has occurred so frequently of late, some might say you can set your clock by it. The question before this court is whether the First Amendment allows the state to dictate, without limitation, how public school teachers refer to themselves when communicating with students. The answer is a thunderous no. I'm 100% positive that they are going to continue trying to appeal this up. So the state of Florida has lost this case, saying, no, based on the First Amendment, you cannot prevent a teacher from using gender pronouns of their preference in the school setting, and you cannot force them to go by a title that they don't want to go by. It would be like the state reaching in and saying, you're not allowed to go by this name. Like, those are just the terms of address that you have. That's how you refer to you. It's like weird that it's considered negotiable in this society. It's like, you just call me what I am called. I am called Luxander. Call me by that. It may or may not be my legal name. Like, nobody, like, it doesn't matter for you to know. And then with my pronouns also, it's like, I'm teaching you how to refer to me. You refer to me in a particular way so that I can just exist in the world. Like, this judge, any of these specific comments that Aaron has included so far have not specified, like, under which part of the First Amendment this is being ruled. Okay, here it is. The judge ultimately determined that prohibiting Ms. Wood from using her pronouns or title constituted an unconstitutional violation of her freedom of speech, deeming it a form of viewpoint discrimination. In the decision, he refuted several arguments presented by the state, including the claim that Ms. Wood using Ms. would, quote, impede her job duties. How? He found this assertion to be unfounded, noting instead that as a teacher, Ms. Wood's students achieved test scores higher than the district average. Boom! Trans excellence. It's so crazy when they try to discredit us, and then it's like, actually, we are the best. Like, actually, we excel. Actually, we're amazing. Obviously, not every trans person is, like, incredible and amazing, but because we're just people, there's good ones and bad ones, whatever. But it's just really vindicating in this context. Like, oh, using these name and pronouns is going to impede her duties. Nope, actually, she does better than the district average. The state also argued that Ms. Wood's identity itself was at odds with the state's teaching on gender and sexuality, and thus she could be barred. This argument, based on a novel legal theory, which means a new legal theory, was found by the judge to be entirely unsupported by previous precedent. Apparently, there is also other legal action addressing this topic, because the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals recently ruled that repeated and intentional misgendering could constitute a hostile work environment. Yeah, that's the only means by which this is ever addressed in law, by the way. The using pronouns at work thing, it's because you're creating a hostile work environment if you repeatedly refer to someone as something they don't want to be called. If you have a coworker named William and you refuse to stop calling him Billy, even though it really pisses him off, he could have you punished by the company for creating a hostile work environment, for harassment. It's like, I keep telling you my name is not Billy, my name is William, and I've told you like 6 times now, like, you're really getting on my nerves with this, you know? It's the same level of protection that trans people get in the workplace when it comes to pronouns and names. It's just that these people think that it should be acceptable to be transphobic, basically. They're like, yeah, but it's my deeply held transphobic belief. That's their whole argument, essentially. The 7th Circuit Court of Appeals also recently determined that teachers do not have the religious right to misgender trans students. So this Florida case did not grant Ms. Wood an injunction on the basis of a hostile work environment. It does not preclude the possibility that it might recognize she experienced such an environment in addition to the First Amendment violation identified by the judge when the case is fully heard. So this is like a preliminary thing, and she has been granted an injunction, as in this law does not get to be applied to her. So this injunction only applies to her. That's a good point to notice. Like, other teachers might be having their pronouns restricted in the workplace, and this case is only putting a pause for her, not for other trans teachers in the state. And this is just a preliminary injunction, so we'll see what happens when the case is more fully reviewed. But it seems like the First Amendment argument is going to be central to it. Not necessarily the hostile work environment part, but... And so I think that that's a stronger case, honestly. I think if you're going with a, First Amendment argument, referencing the Bill of Rights, as opposed to more local rules that might shift and depend, like, oh, okay, is it harassment? Is it a hostile work environment? Whatever. But like, a First Amendment violation means that law cannot exist anymore because of the Constitution. So if we get a more thorough ruling, it would be great if this is struck down on that basis. And then, of course, the state of Florida is going to continue to appeal, and we'll just have to see how it goes from there. As with all of these cases, it's good to see, though, that in the various circuit courts of appeal, they are generally finding that you can't discriminate against trans people for no goddamn reason. So we can keep our fingers crossed that these judges, and frankly, even some of these Trump-appointed judges, are sticking with reason and, in my opinion, justice on this matter, making sure that trans people have equal rights and protection under the law, that we have an equal right and protection in the workplace. Like in a system where you have to eat in order to survive and you have to buy food, you cannot bar people from employment. Like if you create a hostile work environment so that they can't functionally work, that is like imperative to their life. They will not be able to continue in the same capacity. So we need to have the rights and protections to ensure that we can provide for ourselves. Yeah, I hope that this pans out fully because trans Floridians need a W. Like, at the very minimum, workplace protections. There is not necessarily a First Amendment right to receive trans health care. We might have to depend on the 9th Amendment and the 14th Amendment for that. But we do have a First Amendment right, hypothetically, to express ourselves and to not be compelled in our speech. And, like, I think that forcing someone to go by a certain name or pronouns is a type of speech violation, or, like, compelled speech or something. So, yeah. Good times. Great oldies. Nice to get some good news today. Still 48 people here as we're getting close to winding down for the night. And 114 likes. Ah! Screaming. I gotta go to the garden center tomorrow and get more stuff for my plants because they need more space. Ugh. Just smoinked a joink? Uh-huh. Oh, to live in the Pacific Northwest. Wouldn't it be nice? Kansas sucks. Everything is illegal here, and it's the worst. We also have some of the most restrictive alcohol laws in the country, so it's like, it's gonna be a while before we get cannabis here. We don't even have medical cannabis. Obnoxious. That's rough, buddy. I know. So sad. So sad. So sad for me. I guess technically I could... Is it a dry state? Not completely. Like, we have a lot of restrictions on what time businesses can be open. Like, what days. And, I don't know. I guess I don't know what dry state means. It's not like it's not allowed at all. But, like, we don't sell it in grocery stores. There was actually a campaign to try to get a law passed to allow it in grocery stores, and that failed. And, like, if you buy beer at a gas station, it's weaker than the beer that you can buy. Or maybe they did change that you could get regular beer. But we did not pass the, like, get it at the grocery store thing. So, yeah, it's a little bit limited. I can't drink right now because I'm on a muscle relaxer. Looking forward to being off of it, though, because holy shit, I cannot be tired like that in the middle of the day all the time. It's rough. Well, do we have anything to cover in the last little bit? Florida is hell. The world is a terrible place. The world is a beautiful place. There's so much good things. It's springtime in my hemisphere. Springtime is good. The daffodils are coming up. Like, people's tulips are starting to come up. Honestly, I'm just enjoying vibing here. I know. We create the vibes. We have such good times and vibes and times. Got any books you'd recommend? Oh, sure. Uh, I would recommend getting some foraging books. I have a couple of foraging books myself. But no, like, as far as fiction, I don't necessarily have anything that I can recommend. I have the stuff that I like, but it's not like... Yeah, Silent... Yeah, I still have a tab open from the last time we were on a call so that I can look into the Locked Tomb series. Lesbian necromancers in outer space. Yeah, Silent is much more of a reader than I am. Ooh, I'm enjoying the warmer weather, but my bedroom is in an attic with a teeny window, and I'm not loving how stuffy it is. That's tough. It's gonna be like potentially 90 degrees this weekend where I live. I was looking at the weather forecast. It's definitely gonna be at least in the 80s. It's April. Like, I like it when it's warmer in the morning though, so I guess that's convenient for me. I can do my stuff around the house, or like if I leave the house, I can do all that stuff in the mornings. And then just like remain inside for the duration of the summer, for the most of the duration of the summer. For sure. That's my plan. Okay. On that note, I'm really sleepy, so I am going to go and get some rest and plan to see you all on Sunday once again. Isn't that lovely? Isn't it so great having reliability? All right. Be good, or don't get